The atmosphere was getting heavier with every second. The Dalavarian saint who had the illusion he could slap Prince Alfred because of the home advantage was scared silly. He could tell from their eyes that they were serious. If he makes more reckless, they would attack. Not only the three in front of him. The eyes of every single one from the Black Sun was flashing with anger and killing intent. All of this because of a mere slave? What is wrong with these people? No one from Dolivar could understand what is going on. But they understood one thing very clearly. The value of life. So the saint who was going for Prince Alfred took a few steps back, and the other one who was close to Pion retreated far away with a jump. Under everyone's eyes, two saints from the kingdom of the Black Sun stepped forward and untied Pion. Then Caesar came with Theo quickly as well and supported Pion before he fell due to his injuries and excessive exhaustion. Prince William stared at the three young men, these heroes who had warned the kingdom of a colossal trap. But his face soon twisted when he saw the condition of Pion after he got untied, and turned back to look at the head of the saints of the kingdom of Dolivar. Pray to the heavens that these injuries wouldn't affect his future cultivation or leave any kind of disability, or else, I will consider what to happen to him as a personal grudge against William Marley. You! Don't try to manipulate and change right and evil, these three are criminals. The number of tokens with him is enough as evidence. This time Caesar looked at him and shouted, Go ask your prince whether I, Caesar, am strong enough to collect these tokens myself or not. Or tell you what, no need for that. Give me whatever rank you want. I'll meet you prince at the arena in the next event, and show everyone how strong I am, and that all that has been collected I have gathered with my own effort. Humph, who said you'd qualify for the next round? You stole the tokens and by the law, you and your squad should be thrown in jail. One of the saints of Delivar pointed at Caesar and yelled. The saints and followers of the rest of the kingdoms did not say a word, but were silent and remained standing on the side watching this amusing play. Enough! Hear me out, whatever your name is, we can condone some trophies being discounted from Caesar's team as long as he's in the final event. But if there's no hard evidence that these tokens were stolen, don't you dare take him out of the competition, understand? A terrible oppressive force emerged from Prince William that overwhelmed everyone present. Then he turned around. Let's go! William did not wait for anyone's reaction and immediately left with the rest, leaving the square in complete silence. No one expected what had happened, especially saints of Delivar. They just wanted to keep up oppressing the Black Sun guys like the others, so they picked up a slave of the son of an earl to make an example of, just a nobody and his master is only a nobody. Logic says that his master would have come to protest a little and try to clear his name, and they would bully him some more before they frame him with 1 or 2 charges, and perhaps tie him next to his slave before throwing the two at jail. Who would have thought they would provoke such a reaction? No one thought that for the sake of this slave would move so many saints, and even the prince closest to the throne threatened to make it a personal grudge. Someone tell His Highness of what happened here, the leading saint of Delivar shouted, then took a deep breath and fought to bring back a smile on his face, then declared, Let's continue the sorting and ranking process, gentlemen. Equals. Meanwhile, inside a closed hall in the royal palace of the Dola family, a large number of saints and senior politicians of the kingdom are gathered, and in the center of the hall stands the geniuses participating in the hunting event from the kingdom of Dolivar. Especially Prince Henry, standing right in the middle, talking incessantly about his experience at the hunting event. After a while, That's all. What do you mean by that's all, Your Highness? You haven't said a reason yet for letting my son die while he was in your care. An angry voice came from someone whose face had a very ugly smile. He was Duke Titus Tinley, the patriarch of the Tinley family. He personally came to the capital because the burden of launching the next war would heavily fall on his shoulder, as he controlled the border with the Black Sun. This kind of high-level planning can only be done face-to-face, but everything is turned upside down. His beloved son is dead. He died a horrific death by burning alive and then beheading. 3 whole other squads were just a few steps away from him, and yet no one saw what happened to him. I'm really sorry, Uncle Tinley, we really didn't see him. We were completely occupied with the powerful white flame field that Caesar produced around himself, while whoever killed Michael and his team did it with dreadful silence and speed. Henry lowered his head, followed by the captains of the other two squads. Who did this must have been the rest of the so-called geniuses of the Black Sun Kingdom. They worked together to kill my beloved son. Titus shouted violently. This is impossible, Uncle Titus. We saw them all with our own eyes coming from afar right after the incident. And there was no report that other geniuses came out other than the group we saw, except for what? Duke Titus frowned. Caesar had a small squad of 3 with him, and those who came to support were 13, that makes them 17 in total. But the group when they came out eventually was reported to be 19. Other than the 17 we can confirm that they didn't do it. There are the 2 followers of Caesar who joined them later, and I think they were the ones who killed Brother Tinley and his squad. You're saying that my son was killed by 2 slaves? Titus Tinley stood up, signs of anger clearly visible on him. Please sit down, Titus. Let's continue the investigation to the end. The person sitting in the middle of the saints' circle spoke at last. This was Louis Dolev, the crowned prince of Dolivar, a sage. Henry, you may continue. Yes. Reports say that Caesar took 2 followers with him. We did not see them when we found Caesar, but now the number increased another 2 when they came out. So it is most likely that this is for 2 who were hiding and they were the ones who did it. The subject deserves more research. One of you should go to the ranking area. If that Caesar had a follower, he would be there with their tokens. Keep him confined until we finish the investigations. Louis pointed to a few low-ranking saints standing on the side. But at that moment, knock knock. Your Highness, there is a saint from the ranking area asking for permission to enter. Let him come in. Louis furrowed his eyebrow. It is impossible that the sorting and ranking process had already ended. Seconds later, a middle-aged man entered, bowed towards Sage Louis. Your Highness, a follower of the participant called Caesar from the Earl family of the Black Sun realm, came forward to hand in the tokens they collected, and when he reached this point he found that the atmosphere around him had almost frozen. When he looked to the side he could feel the dense killing intent by Duce Titus Tinley. Don't worry, you can continue. Louis felt the saint's fear and reassured him. Yes, Your Highness, he turned in 36 tokens, allegedly all for his team. We suspected it was stolen. As to how 3 little bastards at the 9th level can do something like this? So we decided to hold him. He resisted a little, but we beat him and tied him to one of the poles. Well done. I will go and make that damn slave talk. Duke Titus stood up and went to the exit. Please wait. After we did that, all the saints of the Black Sun realm came and took him away from us by force on the pretext of our lack of evidence. Even William Marley himself threatened to make things personal. Titus stopped on his way and turned to look at the saint. What did you say? William had gathered his saints and was ready to fight on our land to free a slave. Sage Louis furrowed his eyebrow. It seems my little brother's guess was correct. It's impossible for all of them to move for just a 9th level slave. He must have secrets in his body, like his master who stopped 4 teams and burned Michael Tinley with that strange field of white flame. Big brother, Henry interrupted. There is something I would like to add. When we saw Caesar for the first time, he did not show signs of fear or even surprise and actually stood calmly as if he expected this. He also said what is meaning that he had met another group, and he even mentioned the names of Sheldon and Zika. I fear that he has a relationship with the disappearance of that group. What? That makes sense. Even if he isn't a target, as long as he sees more than 2 squads in the group, then he should be dead according to the original plan. But he is now alive and all of that group had dead in return? Another genius confirmed. Is there any evidence that he did it? Louis hurried and asked the one who spoke. No, Your Highness. We didn't find anything related to those 4 squads. They've just disappeared. And as according to what witnesses said, Caesar was not involved in the murder of Michael Tinley and his team either. We cannot officially link him to anything. Your Highness, I'm afraid we misjudged. The squad representing the Burton family are not coming to fill in a place. They are here to sweep. I agree. There is something fishy about all 3 of them. We should capture one of those 3, or even better, catch them all to see what their secrets are. A representative of one of the duchies spoke. Right, 36 tokens, the deaths of Michael and the second group. How can 3 ninth-level boys associated with all of this without having major secrets backing them? Whatever they are hiding might be a dangerous weapon that the Black Sun Kingdom is developing. We must find out what happened before we proceed with any plan against them. But it is clear that William and all the saints of the Black Sun are supporting the 3. How do we capture them and under what charge? We can't just arrest the guest that we have invited. You all listened to what was said just now. William announced that he is ready to make this personal. He is almost the crown prince himself. We can't just ignore him. Everyone present began to exchange opinions and ways to arrest Caesar and his followers. Big brother, I support whatever you decide, but I have a minor request. Henry's voice suddenly echoed in the midst of gossip. Speak, Louis nodded. I don't know about his secrets, and I don't know if he is the killer of the other group or not. I only know one thing. He is very strong. None of us can defeat him in a one-on-one fight. The next event will be single fights, and we can't change that. If he entered the ring and activated that strange white flame field, then the fight is over. My point is, if the event started and he successfully entered it, he will definitely win. The sage's features turned into anger. It wasn't easy for him to hear his little brother admit that he is so weaker than an earl's offspring. What do you mean by this? I mean no disrespect. Big brother, I will obey whatever you decide, but please bear in mind that you need to do it before the second event begins. Caesar must be prevented from joining the single fights at any cost or else the offspring of an earl in the kingdom of the Black Sun will emerge as the final winner even after all the hardships we have put before them that everyone from the other kingdoms witnessed. If this spreads, our kingdom's face will be put in the mud. Henry spoke slowly while looking at his feet. He couldn't stand his older brother's gaze. Although they are brothers, the age difference between them is a few hundred years. Can this still be considered a brotherhood relationship? There was silence all over the place. This was the first time they thought about the possibility of Caesar being crowned as the champion. But as long as Henry, their strongest fighter in the young generation, said this, it is likely that this is what will happen. We can't stop him from entering the final round for no reason. It will only make worse rumors spread. We also can't detain him or his followers on any charges. We've seen William's reaction. When the Black Sun will have a real reason to attack us and the overall plan will fail. A politician added. Duke Titus Tinley shouted. Haven't you failed already? You idiot? That damn Caesar killed 5 whole Dallavarian squads inside the hunting event. And we can't even arrest him for some interrogation. Why would they want to attack us now? We are the ones who should have revenge. No, Caesar must have told them everything about the groups. There is still a small chance that one of the duchies getting angry and attacking us, and even if our endeavor fails this time, so what? We will have other opportunities in the near future, but we cannot sabotage everything by officially spoiling relations now and publicly detaining Caesar. The politician stated. Are you saying that we let him take first place and honor him in our lands? We tell everyone that the son of an earl in the kingdom of the Black Sun is better than everyone we have. Everyone from the other kingdoms? We would just boost their reputation further. Wouldn't that damage our overall plan even more? That politician didn't reply again. He was convinced completely by the Duke. They can't boost the enemy's morale in any way. He sat down again, trying to figure out the best possible solution. Everyone returned with small talks trying to find a solution, till suddenly a voice came from the main chair. Kill him. The word shook everyone present. What did you say, Your Highness? Kill him. What's so strange? Kill Caesar Burton. Your Highness, this. I know what you're thinking, but the time is right and the options are very limited. Just send competent assassins to do it and then send his body somehow to his family residence to make sure he's dead. We can't stop him from entering the final event or it will damage our reputation. We also can't arrest or kidnap Caesar Burton. Even if we did it and we make him disappear, they would know it was us and we will be forced to release him later or we will have enormous political pressure on our backs. We can't send a future strong foe to the stronghold of our enemies. So the only option is to kill him and make them know that he is dead. I would rather have them point fingers blindly and say we killed him than any of the other options. We must get rid of him right now and in complete secrecy. But what about the secrets that boy holds? It might be hugely beneficial for us. Sage Lewis nodded. Whatever secrets he has, his two followers hold secrets like it or even more. After killing that boy Caesar, kidnapped his followers in complete silence. It will be easy. After the operation ends and the boy's corpse is revealed, the saints of the Black Sun Kingdom would be madly in search of evidence concerning Caesar's murder or even come directly to confront us. No one would care about the matter of his followers. They wouldn't even have the guts to demand us anything concerning the two of them, because the report said they registered as slaves. Would they use their political strength to pressure us for slaves? Impossible. They would expose themselves in front of everyone as the liars they are, for trying to sneak in those two national geniuses as mere slaves. As for the dead Caesar, we'll simply deny all the accusations and let them shout as they please. They would shut up eventually, for a dead genius is no longer a genius. They dare to bring in 3 secret weapons disguised as an earl's son and 2 slaves to try to humiliate us? I'll make them regret it. This is brilliant. I think I agree with His Highness. This is really the safest solution. Your Highness's words are a revelation from heaven. When will we execute this plan, Your Highness? The next event is a week after the first one. It's a known rule, and it will be officially announced after the sorting and ranking of the first event ends today. That means you have a whole week. Everything must be over before the 7th day. Sage Lewis issued his last command, then rose from his chair and disappeared. He left behind a huge council of saints and politicians, the mind and heart of the Dalavarian kingdom, all anxious to think of the best way to kill Caesar and kidnap Theo and Peon within a week without leaving evidence. 6 days passed quickly. During them, Caesar did not take a single step outside the family's temporary residence. The first 3 days he didn't leave Peon's side. He and everyone from the Black Sun Kingdom was trying their best to heal his wounds. The good news is that it was all superficial, and within 3 days Peon was strong enough to get back to his daily routine. The rest of the 6 days Caesar spent them with Peon and Theo in a closed training, uninterrupted by nothing but food rations. 5 days ago, the results of the first round appeared, and Caesar took first place with 36 kills. Although everyone was surprised that Caesar was not eliminated, they didn't even deduct a single token of what was mentioned as stolen previously. But this is no longer important. What is important is that Caesar qualified for the second and final round. And now only a few hours separate him from climbing the biggest platform for the young generation in all the 8 kingdoms, and grabbing the undisputed title of number 1. Although he didn't care much about empty titles like this, he was very excited. He wants it for his father. Robin's decision to send him to the Burton family and send him on missions and wars to make a name for himself, it was clear that he wanted him to be famous for his strength. It was unknown why, but as long as his father wants him to be a famous warrior, then he shall be. And what would give him more fame than being the younger generation absolute champion tomorrow? With a few kicks and punches, he will become the champion, the idol of the younger generation, and his name will run throughout the 8 kingdoms. Perhaps when he accomplishes this, his father will say that he has done enough and will allow him to come back to live next to him again. Knock knock. Who is there? Caesar opened his eyes. It was not yet time for dinner, and even if it was, no one should have disturbed him by knocking on the door, but rather the food should have been brought in silently from under the door. My nephew Caesar, you have been closing on yourself for days, so I came to take a look at you. Are you okay? Oh, Uncle John? Yes, I'm fine. I'm just adjusting my mentality and getting fit for tomorrow. Caesar rose and went to open the door with a smile. If anyone here other than Billy could talk so freely with Caesar, then it's undoubtedly John Burton, Robin's blood brother. Boy, are you serious? Do you really intend to stay in there until the fight? Yeah? What else would I do? John moved a step forward and reached out and gently hit Robin on the side of his head. You're already the champ once you get into that arena. You know this and I know this. Why do you keep yourself locked up all week? What do I do besides training? Caesar scratched his head. Come with me. Remember that restaurant we last visited? The food was delicious, but that bastard Michael Tinley blew it for us. Let's go there again. I doubt someone will try to mess with you again after the hunting event, ha ha ha. This wouldn't be good, would it? Why wouldn't it be? Brat, tomorrow might be our last day in this foreign kingdom. Do you really just gonna leave like this? Let's just walk around and find us a few pretty girls, haha, with your strength, some fooling around won't affect you negatively tomorrow. Right? True, but what? Are you afraid of Dolliver's bastards? Don't worry, what might they do, for example? We'll move downtown in the most crowded place. Nobody will dare do anything to you. I think you're right. It wouldn't hurt to take one last look. Wait a second, I'll go tell Uncle Billy. Shoo. You want to shut it down from the very beginning. If you tell him, he'll refuse, or he might send one of those old men to ruin our fun. Let's go, both of us, and don't worry, I'll take responsibility when we get back. Oh, bring Theo and Peon too, they deserve a little picnic as well. John giggle. Hey, okay, Uncle John, I'll do it for you this time. But you'll have to moderate for my sack if I ever pissed off my father, haha. After exchanging a few jokes and little laughs, Caesar went to the 2 rooms next to him to summon Peon and Theo. Then the 4 left in silence. The streets are still as crowded as they were before. No, even more. It's on the eve of the end of the tournament. Almost all the visitors from the other kingdoms were in the streets to fill their eyes of this foreign country before returning to their homes. Every 10 years the tournament takes place in a different kingdom. As such, the tournament will return here 80 years later. That was a long time. Most of those present this time might not be able to return. Not just for Dolliver. Who knows when they will have another chance to leave their own kingdoms for anywhere else. The festive atmosphere, the pretty girls, and the cheerful laughter of the children made even Theo raise his lips a little and form a smile. What do you think, Caesar? You would have missed all this while sitting alone in your cramped room. Huh? The atmosphere is really refreshing. This was the first time he saw a festival of this size, and the participants in it from all kingdoms with different cultures, costumes, and even different walks. Everything was a pleasure for the eyes. The 4 of them walked for about 2 hours in the streets trying different games and sweets. Time flew by so fast and no one noticed where they are until at last Peon stood still and looked around. Then spoke, "Young master, we are approaching the gate of the capital. Time to correct our direction." "Oh, you're right, we've gone a long way. It's better we get back to the residence. But let's take another route to see what's left of the festival," replied Caesar with a smile after a quick scan to his surroundings. He is indeed having the time of his life. At this moment suddenly appeared a shadow dressed in black and stood in the way of Caesar and his company. Before Caesar could ask who he was, he felt tremendous pressure on his head. This pressure was coming from 5 different people. And all 5 were saints. The masked man who blocked their path, who happens to also be the strongest among the 5, took 2 steps forward. "Caesar Burton, don't be afraid. We want to exchange a few words with you. Come with us. After we tell you what we have, we'll leave immediately." "Say what you have here." Caesar mustered his strength to say those words, but he knew full well that he couldn't scream even if he wanted to. The pressure on him was just too great. "No, it has to be in a private place. Come to the woods outside the city and we'll talk. You can feel the rest of my comrades, right? Don't worry, we don't intend to kill you. If we did, we would do it now and escape. Do you think the 4 of you can survive any attack from one of us?" Caesar knew very well that escaping was impossible. If one of the 5 saints wanted to kill them, they would be considered dead. But he knew damn well that these guys weren't here for anything good. There are surely other reasons they want to take them outside for it. Maybe to imprison them or torture them to try to extract their techniques. No matter how it is, they wouldn't end up with a good ending. At this moment, John grabbed Caesar's sleeve in a hurry, then spoke in a fearful voice. "Please agree. They may be honest and leave us after they've finished what they want to say. Who knows? Maybe it will benefit us somehow." Caesar snapped his teeth, but he knows that if he resists now, he is dead. If he tried to escape or even make a voice, he is dead. Actually, the worst thing in this situation is that they were already near the gate. Maybe if they were still in the city center, someone would have noticed and rescued them. But now, the safest solution is to follow them and buy time for himself until he finds a way to safely escape the situation with his comrades and his uncle. "Okay, we will do as you say. Good boy. Let's go then. Follow after me closely. And don't try to do any dirty trick. If one of you tries to escape or even changes his facial expression, I'll kill him." The masked man led the four towards the gate. No one around suspected anything, as they seemed to be moving of their own free will, because according to the masker's man instructions, none of them can even express fear or hesitant on his face or he will kill them directly. After exiting the gate, they completed their way for about 2 hours towards the heart of the nearest forest, a few tens of miles away from the capital. All the way, Caesar and his group were trying to find loopholes around them or a miracle they could cling to, but the miracle did not happen. The masked saint in front suddenly stopped and turned to face them with a cruel smile apparent in his dark eyes. "Tell us what you want," asked Caesar, still hoping that the man might be honest and would release them unharmed after delivering his message, because if this is not the case, then, haha, did you really believe that? It was just a ploy to bring those two behind you here without a fuss. As for you, you may die. The masked saint laughed loudly and started to approach them. This answer was the worst possible response. They wouldn't even take him as a prisoner as well, but go straight for the kill. Caesar's mind went blank. Just one line appeared in his thoughts. "It is all over. There is no need to beg, threaten, or resist. These people know what they are doing. They are here on a mission and they will carry it out no matter what." The saint laughed out loud and threw a punch towards Caesar. When it reaches his body, the 9th-leveled Caesar would turn into dust. Boom! A strong impact sound suddenly came from in front of them, and a strong shock wave from that impact threw them from their original spot and pushed them a few meters back. When Caesar opened his eyes again, he did not see the masked saint. Rather, the slightly curved back of an old man, and he could no longer hear the sound of the masked saint's laughter. What got his attention most was the blood falling from an old man's arms dyeing the ground red. No matter how much Caesar tried to remember the owner of this back, he couldn't. So he finally spoke. Who are you?" The old man was struggling to hold back the damage to his body from receiving that attack in such a forceful way, as the masked saint in front of him was even stronger than him. After another second, he answered in a tired, coarse voice. "I apologize for being late, nephew Caesar. I knew everything, and I was following you all along. I was just hoping for a miracle to happen and that he would really let you go. That's why I was late to come out. I'm useless. This old man is called Murphy. I'm of the lucky few who knew your father back in his early days. And I was entrusted by Patriarch Brian to watch over you as long as we are both breathing. If Robin had been present, he would have known this person at first sight. He is the old chief of the guards who always stood in front of the Patriarch's office. TCH. This will complicate things. Why didn't you go to a bar and just enjoy the last days of your life? You senile old man." The masked saint put his hand back and was preparing to throw another punch, but at that moment Murphy quickly retreated, grabbed Caesar, and flew towards the capital's direction. "Surround him!" The masked saint screamed. 9 other masked cultivators came out from different places, including the other 4 saints they sensed earlier. The closest saint to Murphy jumped to block his way and kicked with all his might. A bright bolt of lightning came out of his feet, heading towards the two. This attack was sent to kill. Murphy barely managed to react. He quickly turned around hugging Caesar, and again he forcefully took the hit directly in the back. "Uncle Murphy!" Caesar felt the severity of this attack and vomited blood. He actually received an internal injury, although the attack did not touch him. Just the shock wave was enough to inflict significant harm upon him. But all that occupied his head is what happened to the old man who was trying to save him. The two of them fell out of the air just a few steps away from the spot where they were before. Theo, Peon, and John came quickly and formed a tight defensive circle with their backs facing each other. Though they could still stand, both Uncle Murphy and Caesar were in a pitiful state. Murphy scanned the area around him with his gaze. 5 saints between levels 21-24, and also 5 knights between levels 14-17. It seems that you Dalavarians really wish for Caesar's death to send a formation like this. When the level 24 masked man heard the word Dalavar, he furrowed his eyebrows and looked sternly at the saint who had used a lightning attack just a little while ago. It was known that only Dalavar had techniques for lightning laws of level 2 or above. Why do you bother with what he says? It's not like one of them is going to get out of here alive. The saint who used the lightning attack knew his mistake, but he was well aware that killing a level 23 saint would never be an easy task if he decided to abandon the rest and escape alone. I advise you to run away now while you still can. Murphy wiped the blood from the side of his mouth and confidently addressed his words to their boss. Haha, and why exactly that? I sent a distress call to the Burton family residence when I saw you in the market trying to lead the boys out. They're on the way. They might be here at any moment. Ha ha ha. Do you take me for a fool, old man? It's clear that you were following the boy alone. Who did you send? And if you had gone by yourself, you wouldn't have found your way here. Just give in and accept reality. Murphy's features turned very ugly upon hearing these words. You didn't come here by yourself, did you? Who sent you isn't some young bastard or some random noble either. How many of your officials agreed about this? Caesar wiped the blood from his mouth and looked at the masked man who had led them earlier, then started shouting, Do you all realize what is the consequences of your ACT? Who sent us is not for you to know, as the dead does not need knowledge. As for consequences, you say? Haha, we will kill and kidnap some unimportant bastards. What consequences are you talking about? Please do not overestimate yourself. One of the saints giggled as he took a few steps forward. The 5 saints all began to advance to tighten the siege even more so that old Murphy wouldn't escape. Ha 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 ha. You idiots. Indeed, the ignorant are in bliss. You all don't even understand the entity are you provoking. Caesar laughed in apparent anger. Oh? And who is this entity exactly? You? Or do you mean the Black Sun King? A big smile was visible in the masked eyes. For Caesar, he is inevitably dead today, and for the King of the Black Sun, they wish he would react. All they are doing is basically to drag him into a war. How foolish and arrogant are you people? You want to kill me and kidnap my 2 brothers for what? Is it not for our abilities? I'm talking about the one who gave us those abilities, you idiot. Ha ha ha. If one of us dies inside your kingdom, I assure you all will be wiped out. Your entire kingdom shall face annihilation, ha ha ha. Caesar's facial expressions and maniac laughter sent a shiver to everyone's spine. It was clear that he had lost all hope of survival today, even though he still made the 10-man team rethink their standing for a moment. The head of the assassination team paused for a moment upon hearing this. Actually, Prince Henry's and the rest of his companions' tales of this boy's strength were already supporting the theory that there is a major secret hiding inside his body. If it was some reclusive top sage who chose and passed him this secret, but he quickly removed that thought from his head. Sage Lewis and the upper icons have surely considered this and issued the attack anyway. Plus, they have already attacked and their identities as Dalavarians were already revealed. There was no turning back now, so he gestured at the other 4 saints and they started moving together to kill Caesar and the old man at the same time. This time, there is no way to avoid the collision. For saints attacking from the 4 directions and at close range, while a 5th saint standing aside overseeing everything to make sure nothing goes wrong. This was the definition of death. When these attacks come down on Murphy and Caesar, they will surely be dead without the slightest doubt. But just as the 4 saints were a few meters away from delivering their attacks, one of them let out a loud cry. Before anyone understood what had happened to him, another cry came from another saint, "Ah!" and was thrown to the side with his clothes on fire. The other 2 saints stopped halfway, afraid from continuing any further or they might get the same fate. So they jumped backward first, then went to check on their comrades. The 2 of them were still relatively fine, but they both took heavy blows in their back without preparing any defense. The attacks weren't enough to kill or even give them severe injuries, but they were undoubtedly far away from their best condition. "Get out here!" The masked level 24 saint shouted. He was the only one who saw clearly what had happened. 2 anonymous saints suddenly appeared and attacked, then went back into hiding, but everything happened so fast he couldn't do anything about it from that distance. Hee. I thought Lady Mila was going too far when she gave us the task of protecting this boy. One of the 2 came out from behind a huge tree. Hey, I still don't know why we even got into such a fight, but if we go back to Lady Mila and tell her that the boy is dead, we might follow him to hell. The 2nd saint sighed and went out from the other side, then looked at Murphy. Can you still fight, old man? Even with us here, It won't be easy. Murphy almost jumped with excitement. These two were saints, and not ordinary ones either for them to produce such timely attacks. If it was a second earlier they might have avoided it. If it was a second slower then they are dead. The Strix were perfect to make significant damage for two of the Dlivarian saints before the real fight begins. Although the fight is still 5v3, this is no longer a one-sided massacre. The masked saint quickly identified the level of the two. One is the same as the old man at level 23 and the other is at level 22. He was still the strongest saint present. But the rest of his comrades, only one of them was at level 22 and the remaining three were level 21, and now two of them got injured. The next fight won't be easy. Who are you? Why are you interfering? What do you have to do with what's going on here? The two shrugged. Actually, they too really didn't know why were they assigned to protect the kid right before the Eight Kingdoms tournament began. They are just following the orders. Then the stronger of the two looked at Murphy. Old man, we're going to help get Caesar out of here. But we don't intend to die you. You take care of that handsome over there, and we'll take care of those four. How about that? Of course. Although he knew fighting the masked saint is probably a suicide mission, he agreed immediately, then looked at Caesar. Young master, when we get those five busy, you must take the opportunity and try to find a way to escape from here. Damn it! Do you think we are bags of potatoes, old man? A voice came from behind a saint. He was a 15th leveled knight. When the old man saw him, he sighed and shook his head. He had really forgotten about the 5 knights present. Caesar saw the despair in Murphy's eyes. He then took 2 steps forward and put his hand on Murphy's shoulder. Don't worry, Uncle Murphy. If the saints are eliminated from the equation, then we'll get out of here. You just make sure you stay alive too. 3 boys at the 9th level and only 1 knight at the 14th level want to escape from 5 knights between levels 14-17? Impossible. Murphy shook his head and sighed. Hey, I think everything will be revealed in a little while. I only hope that the heavens will look at the Burton family with Biddy today. Come on. Murphy then jumped towards the masked saint, jumped towards certain death. The rest of the saints also started their fight. On the 4 wanted to take the opportunity to attack Caesar and end the mission, but one of the 2 Bradleys stopped him. Even if it was a fight of 2v4, the 4 Dlivarians were barely keeping up due to the difference in level and also the fact that 2 of them are already badly injured. If one of them diverted his attention, then he or his partner might die without knowing how. As such, their battle ragged up quickly and none of them tried to intervene with the kids anymore. They submitted that completely to the knights. While Caesar and his company remained in their tight defensive circle, watching the knights coming towards them. Uncle John, can you fight one them? Caesar asked. John looked as if he got bitten by a sea cobra. He quickly replied, Who do you think I am? I generally do some office work of the elders. How can I stand against those professional assassins? I thought so. Anyway, these people are here for me, Theo and Peon. I don't think they will attack you if you stay where you are while we try to escape. This will be in your best interest. This will be a temporary farewell. Take care of yourself, uncle. What? No. No. Don't leave me alone here. Tell me, what are you going to do? Take me with you. Sorry, uncle, you can't fight like a knight, nor escape like us. Believe me, it's better off you stay here. Let's go. After finishing the sentence, Caesar took out a talisman with a black circle drawn on it from his clothes. Peon understood what Caesar was going to do and imitated him. Then they both activated the seal at the same moment, followed by Theo activating his perfect invisibility feature as well. The 3 suddenly disappeared before everyone's eyes. What's going on? The smile on the face of the level 15 knight quickly turned in puzzlement. The only level 17 knight among them shouted suddenly and pointed towards the south. There! I don't know how they did it, but even I can only find out where they are by activating my spiritual senses to the fullest. Follow me. Caesar looked behind him. That knight was pointing straight towards him. Among Theo, who had mastered this path, and Peon, who had the tremendous wind speed, he was still the most vulnerable target. But as he again looked in front of him and tried to increase his speed, he heard a cry coming from behind. He quickly looked back again and found the level 17 knight standing stunned, looking down, or specifically, at the wide hole in the middle of his chest. He was dead. But the source of the scream was not him, but the old man Murphy. In order to kill the main threat chasing Caesar, he turned his back to his opponent for a moment to strike down the oblivious knight. But the masked saint took the chance and hit his back with all his might, causing him a severe injury, in addition to his previous injuries. He too can be considered a dead man by now. Uncle Morphy. Caesar stood and screamed loudly, although he had never seen this person before. He felt that a close member of his family was dying in front of him. Gio! The old man managed to squeeze this shout out with all of what is left of his power. Caesar clenched his teeth and sped up again at full speed. I can't let Uncle Murphy's sacrifice go to waste. What are you waiting for? Follow them. The three went through there, and there. Find a way to sense their presence and don't think about arresting any of them. Kill them all. One of the four saints cried out and pointed out where Theo, Pion, and Caesar were. He was starting to have a strong panic attack. The day did not go according to their plan. Everything is falling apart in front of their eyes. Killing Caesar and capturing his two followers had already become impossible. Even if the knights managed to capture one of the three, the other two would escape. This is a disaster. But at least catching one of them will not make the operation a complete failure. As such, another one shouted, "No! Focus on one of them and catch him. Do not go back without one of the three. Concentrate with me, you filthy bitch. Or I wouldn't mind taking a head or two tonight." A Bradley saint shouted as he attacked the saint who was giving instructions. Damn it! What are you all doing? We have to capture those three. The masked saint finally got rid of the clingy old man. But he was still losing his temper. The technique the three boys used to disappear just now was really good. Even if he detected one of them and captured him, it would be hard to get to the other one, and impossible to catch up with the third. Theoretically, he should have had finished up the old man quickly and captured the three boys single-handedly. But though old Murphy wasn't nearly strong enough to be his rival, he had accepted the reality that he will die today, and as such his suicidal style made him hard to get rid of. But finally, he got the chance to give him the killing blow when the old man diverted his attention to trying to help Caesar and his company to escape. Even though he is still breathing, with a showing spine, a cut-off nose, and a body in tatters, could be said that Murphy is already dead. He just refuses to draw the last breath yet. The shouting of the masked saint was useless. He himself knew it was useless. The other four saints are engaged in two strong fights and none of them can leave the place. If one of them left his fight, then his partner will be killed, and then he will be chased after. Even if the masked saint tried to intervene in the fight, he would only waste time. By the time he helps his team win, Caesar and his followers would be long gone. Ha ha ha. Give up already. No one can reach. The three boys now. No one. Ha ha ha. Old man Morphy laughed out loud in a coarse voice. With every word he say, blood sprays from his mouth. He truly resembled a demon at this stage. Shut up. They're just three kids at the 9th level, and there are 4 knights between levels 14-16 are chasing them. Do you really think that they will survive today? You are just earning them a few extra seconds by dying. You old bastard. Boom. Hearing the sound of the explosion of power, all the fighting stopped for a moment. The features of Murphy and the two of the Bradley family turned extremely ugly. This was an all-out attack of a level 16 knight. Ha ha ha. It looks like one of the 3 mice got killed. Didn't I tell you? There is no escape today for anyone here. Neither you saints nor those kids. Now let me go kill the other 2. The masked saint roared in laughter and got ready to speed up and start searching. Boom. The masked saint stopped midway. This was also a level 16 knight's full attack, but the source of the sound was in a completely different place. And the strangest thing is that it's the exact same attack. The same energy and the same explosion, but in a completely different location. The problem is, it's impossible for a level 16 person to travel all this distance in a short period. Boom. The third. The same attack in a different direction. There was one thing going in everyone's mind. That's impossible. Assuming that the knight moved at such an irrational speed, it is unreasonable for him to produce the same attack as this. At least it would differ a little to be a little stronger or a little weaker. Such a perfect match is practically impossible. Therefore, the possibility of external support was also excluded, because even if a flock of level 16 knights wouldn't produce the same attack in such a manner even if they tried for a year. What's going on? At this point, the clash between the saints was already stopped, and all of them focused their minds and souls on the directions from which the attack came, all trying to find a logical explanation or, in a more correct sense, all was trying except for one. Ha ha ha! You idiots! You messed with the wrong person. You messed with the wrong person. Murphy laughed hysterically and suddenly fell to his knees and started spitting blood. He had reached his limits. The masked saint did not pay any attention to the half-dead old bullshit. He turned towards the place from which the last explosion came and jumped towards it, but immediately after the jump, he felt a weight pulling him down. When he looked at his foot, he found an old man who seemed to be coming out of the bottom of hell clinging to him. "Old bastard! Why don't you just die?" Boom! A fourth explosion exploded near the scene of explosion number 2, which made everyone go even more crazy. The masked saint continued hitting Murphy in the face, and the rest of the 4 saints continued trying to smuggle one of them towards the explosions. But to no avail. It's been a full minute since the last explosion. Nothing else was heard after that, and none of the knights who had left returned. And old man Murphy finally died. When the masked saint finally smashed his skull, he headed straight for the nearest explosion site, while the other 6 saints tactically halted their fight about half-minute ago already. After all, none can kill the other side. It resulted in nothing more than exhausting themselves. After the masked saint left, a Bradley family saint looked at the other. "Let's go." "Where to?" "None of you will move today." One of the 4 Dalavarian saints panicked. "You can fight us as equals because of your numbers, but if we try to escape we are much faster individually. Maybe if your boss was here you would catch one of us, but now." "Impossible, but you are welcome to try." The 4 of them gritted their teeth and stood helpless to respond. They already knew this and had been mentally prepared for their mission to be exposed to the public ever since these 2 appeared. The 4 stood idly by as one of the Bradleys came forward and took Murphy's body. Then the 2 immediately retreated toward the city. "Wait for me. Don't leave me here." John let out a terrified cry, then started jumping behind the 2 saints. The 4 Dalavarian saints exchanged looks, and the strongest of them shook his head. Then they immediately headed towards their boss's location to help the search for the 3. The 3 secret weapons of the Black Sun Kingdom. They must be killed or captured at any cost to have their power source investigated. They are far more valuable than a few random saints from the Black Sun Kingdom. But when they got to their boss's side, they found what they were afraid of. This? The body of the level 15 knight. Usually, it is impossible for a single attack from a level 16 person to kill a level 15 person. Just like the masked saint couldn't kill Old Man Morphy for over a minute. But according to the scene in front of them, the one attack hit the knight at the lower area of the back of his head. A deadly and unprotected spot. In normal conditions, it is impossible to reach this spot during a fight if the strength gap isn't great, not even in a surprise attack. "Gather me the rest of the bodies of those clowns." The anger of the masked saint was evident in every word he said. Although he did not know for certain what happened in the rest of the locations of the explosions, the sample in front of him is enough to give him an idea. Whatever happened, it did not end well for them. "Big brother, isn't it the first time we look for the 3 targets?" "What targets, huh? What targets?" It has been a few minutes since the last explosion. With the speed and disappearing ability they showed before, it is impossible to know where they are now. "Now what?" One of the 4 saints asked in confusion. This mission was an absolute disaster. If they returned like this to the higher-ups they will be punished. It is just a question of how far they will go with the punishment. The masked saint got up. "I know what you mean. We will not change a word of what happened here. I fear that what happened today will come back to bite us in the future. We will report everything exactly how it is, and leave the rest for the higher-ups." Equals 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 equals. "Young Master Caesar, what do we do now? Shall we go back to the city to take shelter with your relatives there?" Peon approached Caesar as they jumped from tree to tree and asked him with a low voice. Caesar sneered. My relatives? I only have one relative, and he is the one I'm going to take refuge with. He is the one who will avenge us for what happened today. Let's go home, we have no place here. Inside one of the grand halls of the royal palace of Doliver. Boom. Sage Louis Dolev stood up and hit the table in front of him with anger, turning it into dust. Useless! You're all damned useless. You can't capture or even kill 3 kids that aren't even knights. Then what use do you have? Please calm down, Your Highness. There must be something we can do. The hall was filled to the brim with saints, even more than before, as the success or failure of the operation would affect the future of the kingdom. But contrary to all expectations, they have failed miserably. The council overestimated Caesar and his comrades by sending 5 saints. In theory, even the 5 knights were more than enough for the task. In the end, the targets are just 3 ninth-level teenagers. However, a team of 10 specialists in this kind of filthy work, with 5 of them being saints left to do a simple job, but only 5 of them returned. Calm down? Those 3 are hiding huge secrets, secrets that were going to be one of our keys in the next war, but all 3 of them ran away. According to reports, none of the 3 have come back to the city yet. This means they're probably hiding and don't have the intention to show their faces again. They might even be heading back to their kingdom right now. We have lost our only chance to get rid of them. And you tell me to calm down? One of the 5 saints who was kneeling on the ground. Your Highness, the 5 of us succeeded in stopping the enemy saints, and we even killed one of them. The 5 knights were supposed to complete the rest of the task. How do we know that they are so useless? Shut up. Louis moved his hand in the air, and a slap fell on the saint's face, almost killing him. You dare brag about killing a damned old man while the plan failed and the whole plan got exposed? My reports say that all the families of the Black Sun in the capital are agitated after the return of the 2 saints who escaped from you with the corpse of that old saint from the Burton family. Their Prince William leads them himself to protest, and they demand an explanation of what happened. Our reputation is getting trashed right now in the streets. What should I tell them? Tell me, how should I cover up your mess? A saint sitting slightly far away spoke with a smirk. Don't worry, Your Highness. It's just an empty hustle. They won't dare do anything as long as they're inside our kingdom. We can go and subdue them now. Just give us the order. Sage Louis rolled his eyes to the side towards the last speaker. What is a fool like you doing in a place like this? Get out of here and never show your face in this kind of important meeting again. Your Highness, The one who just spoke panicked. Get out. Sage Louis's aura exploded this time and pushed the saint who spoke to the door, breaking it. Damn it. Damn the 4 empires. Had it not been for their arrogance and constant interference in the affairs of the kingdoms, we would have wiped the Black Sun off the map decades ago. If not for them, would we have needed these reasons, conspiracies and nonsense over tens of years? Sigh now, please. Only the smart ones may speak. What do we do now that the mission failed? Louis sat back down at his chair and started rubbing his forehead. Your Highness, I don't think the mission was a complete failure. A high-ranking saint sitting next to the prince stood up, bowed and spoke. What do you mean? Sage Louis frowned. Please let me explain. How can 3 ninth-level youths be under the protection of 3 saints? Even His Highness Prince Henry does not receive such treatment. 3 young men at the 9th level managed to kill 4 knights, including one of them at level 16. Gentlemen, has any of you heard of something like this before? I haven't, and I'm sure none of you would have even thought about this possibility before today. There is also the matter that the 3 had completely disappeared in front of everyone, with only the spiritual sense of those above level 17 being able to clearly spot them. How is this possible? According to the words of the 5 saints, what was used to kill the knights was most likely a strange, explosive weapon that can explode with a power equal to a level 16 knight's full attack, which is also something we have never heard of before. Sage Louis narrowed his eyes. What do you want to say? Your Highness, something is going on in the Black Sun Kingdom that we don't know about yet. What happened today was a warning to us. We should wait a little longer and stop our plans for now until we realize what we are dealing with. Silence fell over the entire hall, and at last, Sage Louis spoke again. Our allies will not like the delay anymore. We have been delaying for about 60 years now. Now that we just started raising the hostility level, we return to play nice again. I understand that fully, Your Highness, our allies might get upset with this, but they will not like the defeat and the loss of their interests if we entered the war blindly either. They should be thankful to us that we extracted this information before it was too late. If those heavy explosive weapons and methods of disappearance suddenly appeared in a great battle between us, the consequences would have been dire. Fortunately, we have seen them now. But this also raises other questions. Why did the Black Sun Kingdom send those three with these incredible weapons now? Another saint intervened. I think this is clearer. Those three came to us to frighten us and make us cautious in our dealings with the Black Sun Kingdom. I bet these weapons aren't available at all in the Black Sun Kingdom. They are just samples, and they brought them here specifically to show them to us. If it didn't appear in the assassination attempt, they would have found another way to announce them. You may ask, why would I assume that? If these weapons were available with large enough numbers to threaten us and could be used in battle, they would have kept them to themselves as secret weapons and not have shown them in this obvious threatening way. So I think they were objects that are still being tested, but they wanted to show them now because of their fear of our constant provocations towards them in recent years. I agree with Brother Sully. Out of their fear, they want to frighten us. Sai, you both are making sense. What do we do about the Black Sun Kingdom's accusations now? Those 5 clowns have exposed us with lightning attacks, and we can no longer remain silent about the protests of Prince William and his entourage. Another saint stood and bowed. This is the easiest part, Your Highness. Let's simply say that the attackers are from the Tinley family, and they want to avenge Michael because they suspect that Caesar has something to do with his death. We can disclaim our responsibility and make it a personal feud between the Tinleys and the Burtons. I have no problem with this. Let me see if any of the Burton family worms dares to raise their voice against this Duke. Humph, Duke Titus Tinley stated. But don't forget that the 3 suspicious youths and deadly weapons come from the Burton family. Perhaps it wouldn't be a good idea to make a feud between them and the border duchy of the Tinleys. You are thinking too much, Your Highness. They are just a lowly Earl family. They're just a front. The Black Sun royal family sent these 3 youths and their weapons under the name of the Burton family, so that they would frighten us even more, telling us that they could arm even the most wretched families with these techniques and weapons if they wanted. But the Burton family itself is a petty family that I can wipe out myself at any time with a spit. Titus replied again, completely rejecting the idea of giving any consideration to the Burton family. I'm with Duke Titus on this. The Burton family is just a cover. It would be all right to make this personal. Even the Black Sun royal family would like this solution. Louis Dolev nodded. Agreed then. Go now and announce Duke Tinley's responsibility for the attack. And then send a few spies to the Black Sun Kingdom to find out what the hell is going on there. We will freeze any provocations of the Black Sun Kingdom for a few more years until we have the full picture, and also increase the border guards between us and the Black Sun Kingdom as much as possible. Try to catch these 3 before they leave our kingdom. Yes. 3 weeks after the meeting of Sage Lewis and the Saints, inside the Bradley Military Institution, House 208. After Robin's little talk with Zara, his life returned to normal somehow. He decided to help her research a good law for her. He stopped his cultivation and went back to the awesome world of researching, and soon got himself busy entering retreats in his room. The only difference this time was that he did not need to isolate himself for months. He used to go out every few days to breathe fresh air and look around at the trees and all sorts of living creatures. Making a cultivation technique was never easy, and it is not easy now. Especially that at the same time he tries to find ways to strengthen his and Zara's soul power even more in order to increase their production of talismans. As every day, he gets nearer to the truth that the talismans are mostly based on the soul power alone, and that must be a way to strengthen it without needing to break through in the cultivation system. And today is as good as always, where Robin was in the living room watching Zara drawing a fire talisman, trying to get ideas about the soul powers. But today their daily routine got interrupted by a shout from the outside. Robin, may I come in? Robin took a second to reorganize his thoughts, and answered after acknowledging the voice. Billy? Haha, come on in. What are you doing here, brother? I thought you were going to be gone for a bit longer. Robin rose from his place and moved to greet his old friend with a big smile. But Billy did not return the smile. His features seemed very heavy and filled with sadness. Then he fell to his knees. As soon as this happened, Robin knew something was wrong and stopped midway. He didn't even try to lift Billy to his feet. He then asked with a heavy voice what happened. "Where's Caesar?" I'm sorry. I failed your trust and could not fulfill my promise." A rare tear fell from Billy to the ground. Robin quickly took a few steps and grabbed Billy's collar. "What did you do, Billy? Where is Caesar? Where is my boy?" "I don't know." Billy closed his eyes, unable to look into Robin's face. "What do you mean, I don't know? Is he alive or not?" "I don't know." There was an attack and a huge battle between 8 saints when it ended. Caesar, Peon, and Theo had all gone missing, and they had totally disappeared since then. "What do you mean by disappear? Why would a battle of this size happen in a damn juniors tournament? And what did Caesar have to do with it?" Robin's fist got tighter. "Allow me to explain to you from the beginning. It all began when Caesar and your blood brother John went to a restaurant. Then, Billy recalled everything that happened at the hunting event according to Caesar's story, and then recited the rest according to the Bradley Saints' narration. That is it, that all that we know after the 2 Bradleys left with Uncle Morphecops, we have no idea what happened to the 3 kids. They have just vanished. We fear that the Dalavarian Saints have captured them afterward." Robin was silent until Billy finished saying everything. He then let Billy's collar and went to sit on the couch beside Zara, who was still crying over her brother, leaving Billy still kneeling. "Uncle Murphy was a good man. He was one of the few who treated me purely in the family. He just loved the fact that I bear the Burton's name and didn't want anything else. I didn't even know he was a saint. You must take good care of those close to him. And I must also thank that girl Mila. I requested her to send a saint to protect Caesar, and she actually sent 2. If not for her decision, the 3 boys would have been killed." Billy was expected every single reaction before he came here, screaming, threatening, and even swearing to cut ties with the Burton family. But Robin's calm words and logical analysis made Billy even more afraid. "Robin, it's normal to be shocked. If you want to cry, then cry. And if you're angry, then scream. If you want to hit someone, come hit me. I will bear everything. Just please do not bear the family the responsibility for what happened. It was my responsibility alone." Robin raised his eyebrows. "I hold you responsible for what? As long as the 3 are alive, then everything is fine." Alive? But they did not return to us. We sent many people to search in the woods, but we didn't find a trace. I'm afraid they're alive. Those 4 explosions are talismans I gave them. And didn't the Bradleys say they managed to hold the Saints for more than a minute after the last explosion? That's more than enough for them to leave. I know Caesar very well. He probably thought that if he came back, you wouldn't be able to protect him, so he decided to go straight back to the kingdom of the Black Sun. He's on his way here while we talk." Billy quickly stood up. "But that's a problem too. On our way back, we saw the border guards scattered on the side of the kingdom of Dalavar. Does that mean that they know that the 3 boys will try to cross the border on their own? I have to go back now to look for them and help them cross." "No need. I know their capabilities very well. Even without any talismans, they will be able to find a loophole and come back. But they will be a few weeks late." Robin's absolute confidence in Caesar and the 2 slaves is very strange. Even if they were geniuses, they would still be 3 children against the Border Patrol army, right? Let go of this now and focus with me. What happened after Uncle Murphy's body was brought back to you? Billy was stunned for a second before replying quickly. Prince William rose in anger and urged every single one of our kingdom to gather and march towards the Dalavarian royal palace to demand an explanation. Then senior officials from Dalavar came out and announced that Duke Tinley was the only one behind the accident, and that it is a personal grudge between the Duke and the Burton family, and no one should interfere between them. But His Highness the Prince was not convinced by their words and issued orders to withdraw all our expeditions and return immediately in protest of what happened, and everyone obeyed him. None of the Black Sun Kingdom participated in the last event of the tournament. And atop of that, before we go he ordered us to spread unofficial rumors to the expeditions of the rest of the kingdoms and to the Dalavarian capital as a whole that the kingdom of Dalavar wanted to kill Caesar inside the hunting event and they failed. So he responded by killing 5 entire squads of them. And they are now trying to make up for their mistake by assassinating him by a team of saints before individual confrontations, in which they also failed and killed an old saint instead. The story took the entire capital by a storm. No one even bothered with the tournament anymore. To everyone, the Mysteries Caesar was already the winner. Robin raised his eyebrows and talked in a low voice. He put the kingdom of Dalavar in an awkward position by mass withdrawal, and then put them in a weak position by having failed to assassinate Caesar twice? What a character this Prince William is. I'd love to meet him one day. Billy nodded. He's really a genius. We should expect that from someone vying for the king's throne. Brother, what do we do now? A cruel smile appeared on Robin's face. They wanted to kill my son twice. They even hit my peon and humiliated him in front of hundreds of people. What do you think I'll do? Robin, I don't like what you're saying. The one who took responsibility for the attack is a duke from another kingdom. A duke? And what if it's a duke? These talismans have to be tested on someone eventually, or else why did I make them in the first place? To decorate your room? If not used now, then what am I tiring myself for? My kid is wrestling dangers right now to preserve his life. If it was a fair fight he lost I wouldn't have interfered, but a kingdom bullying him. They need my permission first. They want it to be a personal feud between the Duchy of Tinley and the Burton family with no one intervening? Let's see if they can bear the consequences of their choice. Billy stood there dumbfounded. Every time he opens his mouth to say something, he ended up closing it again. There is no response. Robin was hinting at attacking the Tinley Duchy, the most powerful duchy in Dalavar. The duchy that stopped the advance of the Black Sun Kingdom a few times over hundreds of years without losing an inch of their land. Finally, after a few seconds, Billy spoke. Robin, we lost a lot of the Burton family's troops in the campaign to reclaim our lands 10 years ago. Our standing army is exhausted and our treasury is almost empty. We can't just send them to die because you dash. Sure, no need for more talk. Summon Patriarch Brian for me. I want to see him here as soon as possible. Robin, you can't act like that, it's the Patriarch. A level 25 saint. At least let me take you there. Billy, don't try to fill my head with nonsense. If he doesn't come in a week, I will make my move without him, and also, keep that John Burton in jail till I find some free time to deal with him. Robin cut short his words, then stood up and went to his room. Billy stood for a few seconds looking at Robin's room, but at last, he sighed and headed toward the Burton family lands to tell the Patriarch what had just been said. After another 3 days, the expedition of the Bradley family returned home. It turned out that Billy left the Burton expedition at the border and came at top speed to confess to Robin about what happened. A few minutes after their arrival, Mila hurriedly came to see Robin, telling him of the unfortunate incident. But his response was, I know. Soon I'll come to see your father to talk about something big. Tell him what happened so he'll have an idea of our words. Then he entered his room again and closed the door. After 2 more days, Herr Robin, I came to meet you as you asked. A faint voice entered Robin's ear while he was in the meditating position on his bed. He quickly opened his eyes and looked at his side smiling. Welcome, welcome. Have you not heard of something called knocking on the door? Patriarch? Excuse me for I'm in no mood to knock on doors when I'm forced to leave my business and blindly travel such a distance. What do you want, Robin? The Patriarch appeared with Billy behind him in Robin's room. Robin didn't reply again, but stood up, put on his cloak, then went to the door of the room. When he was about to leave, he turned to face the Patriarch and Billy. Are you coming or not? Then he made his way outside. The two of them looked at each other, then decided to follow Robin. After a few minutes of walking, Billy couldn't bear it anymore. Robin, how long are you going to drag us behind you without saying anything? Everything will be said in our meeting with Duke Galen Bradley, Robin replied as he continued his course. Galen Bradley? The name came down like a thunderbolt on the two of them, Those of the Burton family level couldn't see people like Galen and have a meeting with him. The relationship between an earl and a duke is a second or third degree subordination. Even though the Burtons are subjected to the Alton Duchy, they still have to bow down when they see someone like Galen. The patriarch couldn't help but ask, "Robin, does the duke know what you're saying? You are a nephew and a friend for us, so we tolerate your arrogance. That does not mean that someone like Duke Galen will tolerate you as well." Robin chuckled in a low voice when he heard this, but didn't reply and continued his way until he reached the ducal palace. The chief guard bowed slightly when he saw them. "Young Sir Robin, His Highness the Duke, has informed us of the possibility of your coming and instructed for you to enter directly. Please go ahead." Patriarch Brian and Billy looked at each other in astonishment. Robin's strong relationship with the Bradley family was not hidden after Saints appeared to defend Caesar. But the three of them continued walking behind the guard until they came to a large hall in which a middle-aged, burly person was sitting. "Ha ha, nephew Robin. I was starting to wonder if you were coming at all." Earl Brian." Brian and Billy took 2 steps forward and bowed lightly. "We salute your Highness, Duke Galen. There's no need for formalities. You all can sit down." Galen gestured to the seats in front of him. At this moment Mila also entered and sat next to her father, then directed her words to Robin. "I heard that you came at last, so I came to see what you have." Galen and Mila Bradley, Brian and Billy Burton, the 4 of them now looking in the direction of Robin, waiting for the reason for the gathering today. Robin smiled a big smile and declared, "Gentlemen and lady, I have gathered you today to talk about declaring war on the Duchy of Tinley of the Kingdom of Dolliver." Everyone looked at each other in surprise. Then Galen's eyes settled on Robin again. "Is that some kind of a joke? I am 100% sane. It is clear that Dolliver wants a war, and I, a good-hearted person, decided that I would give them what they want." "Robin, don't be impulsive. I understand that you are angry by their repeated harassment of Caesar, but wars affect the lives of tens of thousands and alter the economy of duchies and perhaps entire kingdoms. This is not something I can help you with just because you want to." Galen shook his head. "Sorry, Robin, the Burton family can't go to war. Just a marquis destroyed a huge portion of our army 10 years ago and took a portion of our lands in an in-kingdom war. So what would happen if it is us against a duke from another kingdom? I'm honestly flattered that you think we are that strong, but you're overestimating us." Brian shook his head. Robin nodded to both, then stated, "Then what if I give you a few thousand 6th-level fire talismans and a few dozen 5-second darkness talismans?" "What?" Billy couldn't believe his ear. "When can you get all this ready?" 3 months, no. Just 2 months would be enough time to prepare your armies for invasion." Robin raised 2 fingers. Wait, what are the talismans of darkness?" Galen interfered. "It's a talisman. When activated it will make a person disappear for 5 seconds. Excellent for lower levels, but even saints can use it. They won't be hidden from the spiritual sense, but it will be useful because our enemies don't know anything about it yet." Galen stood upon hearing this and looked at Caesar fiercely. "You little bastard. You have such a thing and you never mentioned it to us? Don't get excited too much. I explained everything about it to Mila and promised to give her some talismans of this type monthly. That's why she sent saints to protect Caesar from the beginning." Galen hurriedly looked aside at Mila. "Is that right?" His daughter nodded in agreement. Galen sat again and was silent for a few seconds to think, then returned to look into Robin's eyes. "You have already promised Mila the darkness talismans for Caesar's help, so it can't be considered a card you can use to get us into this war, and a large amount of talismans is not considered a reason either, because all of them will be used in the war that you want to start. What do you have for me?" Brian nodded in agreement with Galen Bradley's words. "An additional amount of talismans will greatly increase the chances of winning, but it is not enough reason to start a war in the first place. Human losses are always heavy in a war at the level of duchies, and even if they win, the land will go to the Duke and not to a small family like the Burton family. They had no interest in entering a war like this." "You old farts. I hoped for some more enthusiasm for glory, and you are both thinking about benefits. Well, whatever, I'll give both of you what you want. First, the land we win from the war will entirely join the Burton family," Robin announced and pointed at Patriarch Brian. The patriarch was so confused that he didn't rejoice or refuse. He just turned his head to look at the Duke's reaction. Ha ha ha. So I think this ridiculous meeting is over. Galen laughed loudly and stood up. But before he could turn his back, Robin's voice came. As for the Bradleys, and for your efforts in this war, I'll give you the method to draw your own level 6 fire talismans. A mixture of enthusiasm, happiness, and disbelief struck Duke Galen upon hearing what Robin said. After seeing what Robin could do, especially after the spirit revitalizing pills he had sold at the auction, he realized that he could not force him to do anything. Because forcing Robin in something would be putting him in a box. If he was stupid and forced him to only make fire talismans from the beginning, he wouldn't have invented those pills or the darkness talismans which now he desires even more than the fire talismans. Keeping him alive, making a good relationship with him, and hoping he would continue dealing with him was the best and only choice. In his mindset, he needed Robin's future achievements and could not do anything to him, and Robin needed him now, and that's why he will never hand him the real techniques or the methods to do all the work, because then he will be less valuable. This is why he never expected what Robin just said. Actually, he would have agreed to help if Robin swears to sell him his next few inventions. Galen tried to hide his mixed feelings and looked at Robin with bright eyes. Robin, these things can't be joked about. And I'm not going to joke about important matters like this. Help me conquer Dolliver, and you'll have a level 6 fire talismans manufacturing plant for you alone. Galen sat down again, leaned his back on the chair with his palm on his forehead. You really know how to raise interest in others. You promise me the strength I want, and the Burton family, you promise them the lands they have coveted for thousands of years. But what about you? What will you gain from this war? How? For a wise genius like you to be led to war because someone angered his son? Don't get me wrong. It is kind of pathetic. Secondly, Prince William told all the duchies, and especially the border duchies with Dolliver Stanley, Alton Everin, that the kingdom of Dolliver seeks a great war for a reason, and that we must not fall into their snares until the intelligence department discovers the reason for their actions. I wonder how he will react when he sees me leading a war against them after his warning, while taking an Earl family with me. Your first question has 2 answers. The easiest of them is that those bastards wanted to kill my son, so I will simply kill a few tens of thousands of them. I am not some wise god. How can I have enough strength and watch those I care about getting bullied and do nothing? So what is the point of everything I do then? But honestly, this is one part of the truth. This leads us towards the harder answer. And in order to establish this fact and for all, and do not to ask me about other reasons later, let me answer the first question with a question. Your Highness Galen, I have been blessed with intelligence and tremendous research methods that qualify me to research medicine and engineering and develop the whole world if I want. But I started by developing weapons for major wars right away. Why do you think I did this? Why? Galen never asked himself this question. It is natural for a person to strive to increase his strength, right? Robin adjusted his seat and said in a serious voice, here's the answer to this question, and with it the answer to your first question. I am a person who likes to work freely, and this freedom will only come with the extension of my absolute influence, or at least the influence of people I trust. For example, as long as the Duchy of Bradley is under your control, and you can be considered a valuable ally to me, I will provide you with arms and support to defend and expand your duchy further. I can't just give strangers things that strengthen their armies and elevate their status, and then they use it against me if a conflict of interest rises. Don't you agree? My previous inventions got me a safe sphere in the Burtons and the Bradleys' territory, and I think it's a good time to increase this sphere a little. I will not lie to you, Duke Galen. I have been thinking for a while where to start expanding my sphere of influence. Duke Tinley of Dolliver presented himself to me on a golden plate, and here I am telling you that the Tinleys will not be the last. Their duke just sped up the process a little. It's just the beginning. My ambitions are much further than that. Mila couldn't hold herself more and interfered. Why are you trying to hide the truth by talking about freedom and revenge then? You're just thirsty for greatness. You want to stand on top of the world and write legends about you, and for poets to sing your name. Don't you? Ha ha ha. Who knows? Maybe I am. Does that bother you so much, Auntie Mila? Robin laughed out loud. Humph. As long as you don't forget that we are allies, I'm happy. Mila raised her shoulders and went back to silence. Good. As for your second question, Mr. Gallon, if you were asked why you broke the recommendation and joined the Burton family in the attack, tell them that Caesar was the disciple of the one who gave you the talismans, and that he was enraged that they tried to kill his disciple, and you are trying to reduce his anger so as not to lose his support for the Black Sun Kingdom. Just make up some bullshit. It will not be difficult for you, you are used to politics. After a couple of seconds, Gallon finally spoke. All right, I will join in 10 months I will get enough men and dash. What 8 months? No. Duke Gallon, that wouldn't work. The march must start 2 months from now. Robin shook his head repeatedly. Gallon shouted angrily, What 2 months? This is invading another kingdom. I must gather at least 150,000 soldiers. I need time to gather, equip and train such an additional huge army. Then get me some of your already standing armies. I don't need 150k soldiers. A small army with the assistance of my talismans will be enough. Earl Brian hurriedly joined in. Robin, Duke Gallon is right. This in invading another kingdom. Sometimes such wars takes decades to arrange. Give us enough time to dash. They must be punished. A moment of silence fell over the place. The sight of the normally calm Robin shouting his lungs out, his eyes turning red and furiously gasping for air, was very astonishing. Robin quickly readjusted himself and continued. 2 months are already a test for my patience. I can wait no more than those. Agree or not is up to you. Everyone present had the same though watching this. It seems that even with his logical and ambitious speech, this guy wants revenge more than anything else. Will you give us those level 16 talismans you gave Caesar? Mila asked. No, they can't be mass-produced. You will have the level 6 fire talismans and the 5's darkness talismans. After a couple of seconds of thinking, Gallon was the first to break the silence. All right, I'm in. But I can only share a quarter of my standing army because I have my own burning border with the Lying Water Kingdom too and can't leave the duchy undefended, even though I will send the elites with you. The total number of what I will share will be 30,000 soldiers, 500 knights at levels between 11-20, and 10 saints, with the one leading them will be my cousin and my number 1 general. Patriarch Brian spoke as well. We will also participate, but as I already said, my army is screwed. We don't have enough money to maintain a large army. The Burton family's current standing army is only 20,000 soldiers. But within 2 months I can spend the rest pit of the money we have and issue a forced armed call and gather another 10,000 soldiers, 100 knights, and we have 5 saints other than me. I will send all of them too. Then a total of 60,000 soldiers, 600 knights and 15 saints. That's more than enough. Make preparations, we'll be moving toward the frontier 2 months from today. The army from the Duchy of Bradley will have to cross the Burton lands to go to the Dalavarians' border anyway, so I think Jura City will be the best option as the meeting point. Duke Gallon, I recommend that your generals head to Jura City as soon as possible to find out the best way to lead the combined army and the best use of the runes during the war. I will get busy with making the talismans. The last batch of soldiers leaving the duchy may come and take them before they leave. Do any of you have a problem with this? I have no problem, Gallon nodded. I agree too. Jura City will be happy to welcome our distinguished guests, haha. Brian was trying to hide his feelings as much as possible, but he still seems very happy. Today is the most lively and enthusiastic day he had in his long life. Good. You guys stay to talk about things I don't understand. I'll go start working on the talismans. See you in a couple of months. Robin stood and headed straight for the door, leaving the 4 behind to begin strategic coordination for the next great war. As soon as Robin left the meeting, he went straight back to his house, pushing aside his ongoing research and setting himself and Zara on making low-level talismans. In fact, Robin could now make much stronger talismans. The most powerful fire talisman he ever made reached level 17. But they are useless in wars. Each talisman of them takes Robin about 2 weeks to make. Within those 2 weeks, he can make more than 1,000 level 6 talismans. So on the grand scale, the less powerful talismans win by a sweeping margin. The stronger talismans, Robin decided to dedicate them to defend himself and his followers and maybe sell them if he needed money. A level 17 knight's attack in the pocket is worth a lot, but they were not important on the grand scale of things. In 2 months he can make about 4 or 5 of those. What would be their effect in a war that has hundreds of knights? Nothing. Perhaps they might be important one day when his soul becomes stronger, as the talisman's main source of power is the soul strength of the one drawing it. 3 weeks after the meeting, the trio of Caesar, Peon, and Theo finally arrived at the Bradleys' military institution, covered in blood, wounds, and mud. The suffering they had gone through until they crossed the border was very much apparent in every inch of their body. The number of Dalaver soldiers they had to fight and kill is unknown. When the 3 entered the house, they were surprised by the view of the small mountains of fire talismans. They immediately realized that Robin knew what had happened to them, or he wouldn't have made of these. The 3 went and greeted Robin with a bow. Caesar didn't complain about anything. Robin didn't try to console him either. All he said was, "Go wash up and start training. You 3 have stayed at level 9 for long enough. I want you all to reach level 10 in a month." Without another word, the 3 nodded and dispersed to their rooms. Another month quickly passed, during which the trio Caesar, Peon, and Theo broke through to the 10th level as Robin instructed. The overall situation inside houses 207 and 208 was relatively calm, as the 3 boys cultivate while Robin and Zara draw talismans madly. But the same cannot be said about the outer world. During those 7 weeks, the duchies of Bradley and Alton were in chaos. Whenever a battalion of 1,000 soldiers is prepared in the Duchy of Bradley, they immediately head towards Jura City in the Duchy of Alton. The length of the distance, combined with the sheer number of soldiers that shook the earth with their footsteps daily, had frightened a lot of people. Especially the nobles that own the lands between the Bradleys and the Burtons. They were always on guard, biting their fingernails daily in fright that one of those battalions might make a little drift and destroy them in passing. Even the commoners who don't care about the lands and riches were in shock and dread about the almost daily marches. It soon became the most talked about situation in the 2 duchies. The internal fighting was widespread, and perhaps the Duke of Bradley wanted to help the Burton family expand their territory a little. Or the Burtons paid Duke Gallan to come and defend them against someone else. No one knew what is happening exactly, and no one tried to intervene and find out, for fear that he might offend the battalions somehow and get himself killed. Too many possibilities left people dreaming and making up various scenarios, but not one of them succeeded in even getting close to the real reason. 6 days remain before the agreed date for the start of the march on the Duchy of Tinley. Knock, knock. A knocking sound came from the door of Robin's house. "Who's there?" "It doesn't matter. Just get in." The door opened and a very beautiful mature woman entered. It was Mila. "Robin, the last battalion is moving towards Jura today, and I'm going with them. It's time to hand over the talismans you have prepared. Fine, you will find some here and some in house 208 next door, with a total of 5,631 6th-level fire talismans, 155 second darkness talismans, and 210-day vitality talismans. 5 thou dash? Wait a moment. The talisman of vitality? What is this?" Mila ignored the huge numbers that Robin was able to produce during the 2 months and focused entirely on the new variety. Robin looked at her. "I was working on something big before the war issue. Sadly, I didn't finish it, but I was able to benefit from my research far enough to put it into this talisman. Inside the human body, there are certain cells that are responsible for naturally healing wounds, but they are somehow slow. This is what I focused this talisman on, to simulate those cells and make the natural healing process faster by a certain extent. When the 10-day vitality talisman is activated, it will instantly speed up the natural healing process of a person. The body of whoever activates it would feel as if 10 days had passed in the blink of an eye. In other words, small wounds will heal immediately, medium wounds will heal to some extent and the injured will be able to continue fighting, and fatal wounds will lose some of their gravity. Even if a person who has just been slaughtered activated it, his neck muscle tissues will grow fast enough to save his life before he loses all of his blood. Of course, these talismans will benefit injuries that can be healed over time, meaning their ideal use is war injuries such as stab wounds, burns, flesh cuts, etc. but they cannot heal health diseases. And it does not recharge one's energy. In fact, it uses energy to activate and work, so the one who uses it will get very tired. That's why I don't recommend using it multiple times in a successive manner, because it might suck you dry and die of exhaustion. And, I think that is it. Did I make myself clear? Mila got frozen in place, not knowing what to say. One talisman of the type of vitality can save a life on the battlefield. Robin has now given her 200 new life chances. The value of a single vitality-type talisman is much higher than fire and darkness talismans. Its value is close to the spirit revitalizing pill, or even more. Robin, Hey, like you said to me earlier, I have to stop being amazed while I'm dealing with you. Mila sighed and turned around to get the wagons ready to collect and load the talismans on them. A long line of wagons entered the institution. The ones riding them were all high-ranking, trusted knights, who quickly entered the two houses and began to pack every 50 fire runes into a box so that they could be easily distributed later, then loading the boxes onto the wagons. The whole process took about 4 hours. After the last carriage finished loading, all that was left was Mila, Robin, and Zara inside the house. Mila turned her eyes to Robin. The army is moving now, let's go. No, I will not join you, I wouldn't help much. There is a saying, leave the bread to the bakery and war to the soldiers. I'd rather stay here where is peace and calmness to make more talismans and supply them to you throughout the war. Robin shook his head and returned to complete the circle he was drawing. As you wish. Do you have any recommendation before I leave? Robin stopped, raised his head, and shouted, Caesar, Theopion. 3 shadows appeared around him, and Caesar replied, How can we help you, father? Robin did not answer him, but turned his eyes toward Mila. Take the 3 with you. Tell the army general to put Peon in the intelligence squad and Theo in the assassination squad. If there aren't such squads in major wars, then make some. And give Caesar 100 men to lead during the battle. If he shows talent in leadership, raise his rank. And thank me later. And I will convey your wishes to the general. I'm leaving then. Take care of yourself, said Mila hesitantly. I think I should have been the one to say this line, but okay, I will. Robin shrugged and started laughing. Seeing him acting like this, Mila humphed and ran outside. Robin continued his laughter for a few more seconds after this scene, then finally turned to face the trio with a smile. Boys, I know they have bullied you. I'm a weak man and can't directly seek justice for you. All I can do is giving you this opportunity. Go release your anger. Take your revenge with your own hands. Make your own legends. I want to hear about your achievements when you come back. They finally were sure that all of this was happening for them. Very quickly tears filled their eyes, and they themselves got on their knees, with Caesar finally the one to speak. Father, you will not be disappointed. Another week has passed. A week that can be described as fiery for the Duchy of Bradley and Alton, and also the whole kingdom. The last battalion that came out of the city of Bradley's Pearl was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was purely made up of the Duchy absolute elites. 600 knights headed by Mila Bradley personally. This was certainly not just some regular fight or a hired army as some believed before. And soon, the much-awaited news was finally leaked. The Burton family announced that, in the hunting event, there were 5 Dalavarian squads that got killed mysteriously inside. And instead of doing sufficient investigation, they framed Caesar Burton for their murder. Duke Tinley gave orders to attempt to assassinate Caesar Burton by sending 5 saints and 5 knights. Had it not been for the care of fate, the duchy-beloved son would have been dead. But the assassins managed to kill a saint belonging to the Burton family. That is why the Burton family wants to take revenge against the Duchy of Tinley and Dolliver. And the Bradley family decided to help because Caesar Burton is the most prominent genius of their military establishment. A foreign war. Any news involving foreign wars travels quickly, especially if the participant is a Duke family like the Bradleys. Second, a young boy from the Burton family killed dozens of Dolliver's elites in the hunting event? No one believed that Duke Tinley would just frame a random young guy and go for the kill in such a manner. He should have strong reasons for this. But even though Duke Tinley wanted to kill Caesar Burton and even sent 5 saints but still failed? A fight between saints happened for a boy? With everyone hearing the news, one question would certainly follow. Who exactly is this boy? And this is the question exactly is what Billy and the rest of the generals wanted when they declared their intention, to glorify Caesar even more so as to give the soldiers a sense of superiority over their enemy. And of course because that would appeal to Robin too. And they had what they wanted. The public opinion in the Black Sun Kingdom actually sympathized with their cause and was busy talking about imaginary legends of Caesar and what he did there. Various legends about his genius, courage, and strength were woven every single second through the information networks of the Bradley and Burton families. But if the high officials of the Black Sun realm didn't like what is going on at all, they know very well what happened there and that the purpose behind it was to drag them into a war. And now these 2 stupid families have fallen into the trap. Of their own free will, they can turn a blind eye to the Burtons since they're just an earl and what they're doing has no weight. But what about Duke Bradley? The biggest problem is that the chances of stopping them before the war started have become 0. They announced their goal on the same day they left Jura towards the borders, and therefore no orders can be issued to stop them and dismantle the army. Otherwise, it will be a slap to the 2 families and a slap to the kingdom itself. 10 days have passed already since the army started marching. The army of 60,000 soldiers entered the lands of the Duchy of Evran and advanced all the way to the border of the Kingdom of Dolivar, the capital of the Black Sun Kingdom. The conference hall. An urgent meeting was held in the name of His Highness Prince William, in which the kingdom's senior officials and all those who were able to come from among the senior saints in a span of 10 days. Galen is crazy. He has always had been crazy. I warned you all but that lunatic many times, but no one listened to me. A middle-aged saint hit his hand on the table. Dolivar provoked Stanley, Alton, and Evran families, but the Bradleys were the ones who took the bait. How pathetic is that? Commented another. Another saint stood up. Your Highness, I demand that Galen be summoned to appear before us and explain what he has. All eyes fell on Prince William, who was rubbing his forehead with his hand. I've already summoned him, but he asked for a delay until next week. What? Is he the one who stipulates when he will meet us now? This guy really forget what he is. If he wanted to destroy his 30,000 soldiers so bad, he could have told me and I would have wiped them out for him. Why should he send them to start a war against Dolivar's madmen? I bet he is scheming with Dolivar against us. That's reasonable. When Dolivar's plan to provoke the 3 border duchies failed, he jumped in to save the day for them. He should be held accountable for treason. The saint who had asked for Galen's summons moments before said, Your Highness, if Jalun is coming next week, what are we doing here then? All the accusations are merely empty talk without him present. I called the meeting urgently because the last news I got was that the army is at the edge of the border. They must be setting up camp now and making plans for the clash. They would soon start the small skirmishes with the border guards and testing the water's movements will begin. If I'm not mistaken, the real attack would launch within 2 weeks. This is our last chance to do something to stop them before it's too late. Do any of you have a suggestion? A moment of silence filled the hall. It seems that the royal family is desperate. This is the first thing that crossed their minds after hearing William's words. The kingdom of the Black Sun is based largely on freedom. The dukes, in particular, are free to wage internal and external wars without the permission of the royal family. Of course, if a duke did this, then he would have to bear the consequences alone as well, but still, if the duke does not have to take permission from the royal family, what can they do to stop them in a case like this? Of course, they can pressure him politically and economically, or even extract a few lands from him if the need arises, but this is in the long run. As for now, the royal family, nor their council can do anything to stop the Duke's army. Your Highness, do we have information about the person who leads this army? William nodded. It's Edward Bradley, a level 28 saint. You must know him well from his epic wars against the Laying Water realm. Edward Bradley, he a really great general. This choice to lead the army made me think for a moment that Galen is serious about invading Dolivar. Not that he was leading 60,000 idiots on a suicide mission. It doesn't matter who he is. They will get destroyed the moment they cross the border. Finally, a middle-aged man stood up. Your Highness, I know Edward. I fought alongside him one day. He is a smart man who knows logic. If we move now at full speed, we can arrive in a few hours and talk to him. Perhaps he will be convinced and stop the progress. You are right, Edward Bradley is very smart, and he will be convinced of the words of reason if we show him the big picture. I am free today. I can come with you. A few people nodded in agreement with the suggestion, and William too saw a glimmer of hope at last and was about to give his approval and choose the right team for the expedition when, Your Highness, an urgent report has arrived regarding Duke Bradley's army. Someone hurried into the dome and shouted at the top of his voice, forgetting to even bow in respect to the prince. William furrowed his brow. Take your breath first. What might be urgent about the army? A full day hasn't passed since they got to the border. They must still be pitching tents now. Sir, you will not believe this. The report says that they didn't stop for a second at the borders. They entered directly into the lands of Doliver and went straight towards Baron Bateau's main city. In there were an allied army of 3 baronies gathering to move toward the border together and stop our army until Viscount Cetina's army arrive. They destroyed the stronghold, wiped out or enslaved every single soldier for a total of about 40,000, and enslaved everyone else in the city. The Baron himself and his family were captured, and our side casualty is less than 500 soldiers. And right now the Duke's army is on its way to fight the allied army of Viscount Cetina that consists of 70,000 soldiers. The kingdom of Doliver, on the border of the lands of Viscount Cetina, a middle-aged beautiful woman wearing full body armor and riding on a high strong-looking horse. Next to her are 3 strong-looking men hovering in midair. Behind her is a large army, the end of which cannot be seen. An absolutely terrifying scene for any enemy. But the strange thing is that the features of terror are visible on the faces of the Viscount Cetina herself, and not who is on the other side. A few hours ago this enemy entered the lands of Doliver and crushed the allied army of the 3 baronies in their own stronghold. The whole process lasted for only 1 hour. On the other hand, the losses of the enemy army were almost negligible. 1 hour. An army of 40,000 soldiers was destroyed without harming the enemy. Now this is terrifying. How they did it. She didn't know. These are the only details they knew about the battle, as the whole army of the 3 baronies fell apart and were mysteriously slaughtered or enslaved in no time. This is why the scouts on both sides just knew the final end. None of them saw the process. The weird thing is that after such battle it is necessary to take rest. Now that they had the Baron's stronghold they should have held on to it and never let go. That's how the national wars happen. The conqueror army takes a stronghold after stronghold, a city after city, and they advance very carefully and try to keep what they have for the longest time possible. But the army of the Black Sun did the exact opposite. They did not even stop to rest or collect spoils, but rather continued to advance in a straight line for almost half a day until they reached this point. Is this excessive confidence? Or do all of them want to advance until the last one of them dies? In both cases, the answer is not good. Hold your positions. Whoever moves 1 step without his officer's orders, he and his family will be executed. Cetina shouted with all her might as she watched the enemy army approach. Then she continued with a quieter voice. Generals of the left and right wings, start moving your legions 100 steps forward. Yes. 2 of the 3 saints in the air nodded and started giving orders to the smaller officers. Dum dum dum. The drums beat and the 2 wings of the army, 15,000 soldiers each, began to move forward while the 40,000 soldiers' central army stood still. General Octavi, take some escorts and go see what the hell they want from us. I don't remember having any enmity with the Black Sun Kingdom. If it can be resolved peacefully, do whatever it takes to negotiate. Yes. A level 22 saint nodded, then got down from midair to set on his horse as a sign of respect, and he soon chose 10 knights to follow him. Then the 11 went straight towards the oncoming army. The general and those with him arrived quickly and started talking with the general of the enemy army. A minute passed. 2 minutes. Viscount Cetina and every high officer who heard about the dread of this army was breathing heavily while watching what was going on in silence and fear. Finally, the general turned his horse and quickly returned with his team, but the problem is that the enemy army was coming after them. What happened, Octavi? Did you fail? Your Grace. It's the Burtons and the Bradleys coming out of revenge for what Duke Tinley did to the young boy called Caesar. Do you remember the name? It is that story that went viral 2 months ago. They don't want to stop. Their general demand us to surrender before he gets here or he will start a massacre. They say they intend to destroy the whole duchy. Damn it! Why do I have to pay for what that bastard Titus Tinley did? The Viscount exploded, forgetting for a moment that she was talking about her boss. Forget it. We will destroy the invaders here. No one dared to belittle me like this before. I'll make them an example to others. Your Grace, I have noticed that their numbers are indeed less than ours, and I think that the pincer plan we previously agreed upon would be optimal indeed, but their formation is extremely tight, so I recommend we widen the pincer more. Satina nodded. Let the left and right wings advance another by 200 steps and go wide 300 steps. Do it quickly. Yes. The 2 Saint Generals bowed around her and each went to their place. Dum dum dum. The drums sounded again and the 2 wings of the army began to diverge until they reached the distances that Satina demanded. Then everyone stopped again for another 5 minutes until the distance between the 2 armies was less than 1 kilometer. Then Satina took out her sword from the sheath, raised it high and shouted. When the war horn sounded, the ground began to tremble. 70,000 soldiers began to move at the same time. The distance is starting to shrink. 950 meters. 900 meters. The enemy army hasn't shown any combat formation yet. They are just marching forward and sticking together like a block of black wood, which made the Viscount furrow her eyebrows even more. 850 meters. Finally, there is some movement. The Black Sun army has suddenly stopped. And 2 squads of archers each is consisted of 200 high-leveled archers advanced to the front. 800 meters. The archers started their preparations to shoot, and from the side of the army came 2 squads of cavalry. Each squad had 300 cavalries above level 11. They were all real knights, and 2 officers at the head of each squad was a level 20 knight. The 2 special cavalry squads quickly stood on the extreme right and the extreme left of the Black Sun army in a spear formation. What is that general trying to do? Satina didn't understand anything. These weren't preparations for a clashing between 2 armies of tens of thousands. First of all, 400 archers will not be able to cause any kind of damage to an army of this size. It is a waste of time. It is better for the infantry to gain momentum by running before the clash than stand behind some archers and wait for it. This makes them at a huge disadvantage. Secondly, if the cavalry were a few thousand in number and were targeting one of the wings, she would take it seriously even if they were low-level soldiers, but this. A small squad of cavalry made of real knights seems frightening, but this is not some minor war. If the cavalry advances like this now, they will be able to penetrate a certain distance into the infantry formations of the 2 wings, but they will be quickly surrounded and killed. Is this a junior general? Setna thought to herself but quickly removed the idea. If a beginner general could destroy 40,000 soldiers with almost no losses, what would she be then? She shouted again at the officers. This is a trick. He will change the formations any time now. Stay careful. 750 meters. The archers raised their bows and hold their strings, while the 2 cavalry squads slowly began to advance. 700 meters. Forward. A shout came from within the Black Sun army, causing the cavalry to rush in with all their might. The same voice came again. Pull your strings. The 400 archers pulled and stood still in a firing position. 650 meters. Launch! 400 arrows shot at the same moment. But the surprise is that the arrows did not target the first row or even a specific area, but were distributed randomly at the right and left wings of the Viscount army. He actually used this idiotic plan? What exactly does he want to achieve? Satina's mind nearly stopped working, but she shouted, Right and left wings, raise the shields. The 30,000 soldiers raised their light wooden shields and prepared to receive the 400 arrows without fear. 200 arrows on 15,000 soldiers on each wing. Even if they don't have any shields, it wouldn't have stopped them. Ba 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 ba. Arrows descended into the wooden shields. Only 16 soldiers were hit by the sharp arrowheads. Ha ha ha. Looks like the Baron is the one who was useless. We're going to get a landslide victory today. General of the Center Army, Saint Octavii, laughed out loud. Only Satina was still focused on the enemy army. The squad of archers didn't prepare for the next burst. They all left their bow and started making seals with their hands quickly, with big smiles on their faces. Satina looked back at the arrows and found some kind of beast hides hanging at the rear of each arrow. What the dash? Boom. The arrows began to explode successively, causing a huge number of deaths in the army. The main body of the armies are ordinary low-leveled cultivators who do not exceed the 5th level. When such explosions happen between them, it's easy to imagine how much destruction happened. And what is worse, the number of death counts. The explosions created huge voids inside the formation and caused hysterical panic. Before anyone could understand what was happening, the 2 elite cavalry squads quickly approached like the Grim Reaper, cutting through the left and right wings in half like a knife in butter without any difficulty. The deaths began to pile up very quickly, and the officers could not stop the progress of the cavalry or even slow them down. Any attempt to slow them down ended with instant death. The officers quickly gave up trying to make a decent formation to stop the cavalry quickly, so they ignored them and started trying to reform the army to its first coherent formation quickly and fill the gaps. But the panic and fear caused by the explosions in the hearts of the soldiers made communication with them and the implementation of orders slow to the point of not moving at all. When they saw this, the Dalavarians' knights and officers in the 2 wings gathered together and headed to put an end to the advance of the Black Sun cavalry by force. But by the time the Dalavarians' knights moved through their army and was about to intercept the Black Sun cavalry, the 2 elite Black Sun cavalry squads veered to the side and got out of the formation. Then they turned and came back from another angel to continue cutting the 2 wings and turn the initial formation into slices, like a worm gnawing at an apple. Satina stood helpless, not knowing what to do. The 2 wings of the army are now useless. As she was still thinking of solutions, she caught a glimpse of the enemy archers raising their bows to start a second round. This time the 400 bows were directed at the central army. Satina quickly regained consciousness and shouted loudly, "Every man who owns a horse, hear your orders. Go and kill those archers at once. Saints, help stop the second wave of arrows as the cavalry takes out the archers. Left and right wings, stop your places. Lock up the enemy cavalry within you and kill them. Don't worry about anything else. As for the central army, march full speed." Every general listened to his part of the new plan and started to implement it immediately without complaining. Although the new plan includes sacrificing all of the Dalavarian cavalries, as they will certainly get destroyed after they attack the archers, and sacrificing huge numbers of infantry on the right and left wings at the hands of the enemy's cavalry of knights, it is actually the safest way. All of these decisions are to protect the central army of 40,000 soldiers. This army must reach the enemy as fast as possible and establish a close combat ground to stop those arrow attacks, or they are dead. When the close combat ground is established, then the Saints and the Free Knights can return to reorganize the ranks of the right wing and left wing armies and have joined the close war from the side as planned. That was the only option. A new round of the explosive arrows headed towards the central army. The 3 Saint generals roared in front of the central army, raising their hands, and began to form a collective energy barrier to stop the arrows before they fell on the army. When Saint Octavii saw the arrows coming at him, "Hurry up, focus with me on this point, it has the most arrows, we must dash. PFFF. He didn't finish his words before he started spitting blood. He looked down in the direction in which he felt great pain and saw a dagger in his heart. He slowly followed the hand holding the dagger and saw a very beautiful, explosively feminine girl, giving him a cruel smile. She was a saint dressed as enemies. She appeared in front of him is like a ghost from nowhere. When the other 2 saints saw this, they cried out together, "Brother Octavii!" They abandoned the energy shield formation and went to help their elder brother. But the enemy saint had taken her dagger out of their brother's heart and ran away. A stab in the heart is still a fatal blow for a saint, but it is still treatable. Once the treatment is rushed, the 2 quickly approached and grabbed their brother before he fell and tried to stop the bleeding. but a voice passed by their ears. It was just then that they realized what had happened. This is bad. The arrows passed them and landed on their targets. And with a boom 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 boom, another round of explosions began. No! Viscount Satina shouted at the top of her voice. 400 explosions in random places tore the entire squad apart. The 40,000 soldiers who were in tight rows seconds ago became like a handful of peasants scattered without the slightest bit of organization. This is without mentioning that the attacks killed or injured a few thousand soldiers. Satina looked in the direction of her cavalry, who were sent to kill the enemy archers, and found that they were fighting against 10 saints and could no longer advance. At the same time, the enemy archers were preparing their bows for a third round. She then looked back towards the 2 wings that had already stopped but did not find the 2 squads of enemy cavalry between them. The 2 squads have escaped the formation before it was closed on them. And now they are coming from behind towards the central army to drill it, as happened with my right wing and left wing armies. 200 meters left until the frontal clash with the Black Sun main army. So far, 10,000 soldiers have been killed or seriously wounded. The right and left armies became completely useless, and it is impossible to return them to a combat formation anytime soon. The previously coherent central formation got destroyed by the many gaps, and the enemy cavalry are coming from behind to split them apart even more. Her own cavalry got stopped before they do anything useful and are now engaging in a ferocious fight with the Black Sun Saints and became vulnerable for any counterattack by any ordinary archer. And above all, one of her 3 saints got severely injured and could not participate in the war anymore. All this and the main body of the enemy army has not moved yet. Ah! Satina screamed with all her might, took off her helmet, and tossed it aside, before casting a long look at the enemy army general on the other side, who had a slight smile on his face. Then she galloped forward with her horse. Even if we're going to hell today, I'll take you all with me. Men, here is your plan. Attack. Just run forward and kill those demons. Kill them all. The Black Sun general, on the other hand, smiled an even bigger smile when he heard these words. Capital of the Black Sun Conference Hall, one day after Satina's final scream. Hoof, hoof, hoof. A man ran down the path leading to the main hall as if his life depended on this moment. He seemed very tired and was about to fall unconscious at any moment, but he continued running until he saw the door leading to the hall. He kicked it open and entered directly. Many hours have passed since Prince William met with senior officials the first time, but until the meeting did not end. In fact, the numbers did not decrease. On the contrary, the number of attendees multiplied several times. The person sitting in the main chair is no longer William, but a man who looks in his 50s with a stifling aura radiating from him. He is the king's cousin, the current prime minister, the former rival for the throne, Sage Albert Marley. Since the shocking news of the destruction of the Baron's allied army and Edward Bradley's advance with his army towards clashing an even army larger than themselves, more and more people who were initially uninterested have been invited. Among them, of course, Prime Minister Sage Albert. While the room was in heated discussions and making predictions about what would happen to Edward Bradley and his army, and what would result from it later on and how to respond, a tired-looking person entered and fell straight to the ground. The hall turned silent in an instant. No one tried to yell at him and ask who this was. He is well known. This is Saint Marco, who is currently in charge of bringing news from the battlefield in Delivar. 2 people came quickly and gave Marco a bottle of water. Everyone took their seats without adding a word. Finally, Saint Marco rose to his feet again and bowed. I apologize for the unfortunate sight which you have just seen. Ladies and gentlemen, I have brought the news you were waiting for. That's the last thing that happened before I hurried here. Saint Marco completed his report, then bowed a little toward Sage Albert, and backed away to stand aside. The report is over, but his shock still continues. No one in the hall uttered a word. They all thought of what they had just heard. The first Baron battle was very fast, and the messenger did not see it personally. He arrived late and just brought back the final result. As for the events of the battle with Viscount Satina, they got to know everything, and everything was shocking to them. The report was simply contrary to what they knew about a typical war. exploding arrows to destroy the enemy army formations before the first clash even happens, using knights from the beginning as cavalry to completely paralyze the wings of an army, then use them to drill the central army from behind, sending Mila Bradley as an assassin in front of everyone to stab the enemy saint in the heart without anyone actually seeing her before the damage is already done. Finally, a saint broke the silence. Edward Bradley destroyed 2 armies totaling 110,000 soldiers in a matter of 1 day, and in return only lost 2,000 infantrymen during the final desperate clash with that crazed Viscount Satina. We had such a genius general and we haven't noticed. What genius? Give me those explosive arrows and not a single soldier will fall. Right. What exactly are those arrows? The discussion raged, and everyone's attention turned towards the new miraculous war tools. The explosive arrows. Among the adjacent voices, a voice in the middle caught all eyes on him. Wait a minute. These results. Doesn't this mean that Edward and his army are not there to vent their anger or to try to start a war between the 2 kingdoms as we thought, but for a real invasion? Real invasion? Invading another kingdom with 60,000 soldiers. Sage Albert finally spoke. We have a real chance to wrest some lands from Doliver this time. I don't know what is happening with our boys there right now, but we must not let this chance be lost. The duchies of Evran, Stanley, Alton, start the war alarm and summon your armies. Send them to stand ready at the old border with Doliver. But do not take a step inside their lands. Just stand still ready to support the Bradley family's campaign if the royal family of Doliver tried to support the Tinleys. The stalemate that has existed for hundreds of years will finally end. Our lands can finally spread larger. We can't let this opportunity go by and do nothing. Also, let someone bring me that bastard Galen Bradley. I don't care if he says he's coming in a week. I want him to stand before me within a day. And hey, send someone at the top of the Saint Realm to bring us the news from the battlefield faster. Or do you want me to go myself to get the damn news myself? Equals 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 equals. A few hours later, Bradley Pearl City Ducal Palace. Galen stood up from his desk and approached the new visitor with a smile. Huh? Messenger Marco is here in person? Come on. Do you have news for me? Saint Marco bowed lightly. I salute you, Duke Galen. Your army has annihilated a 40,000 army from 3 baronies and an allied 70,000 army made up of Viscount Setna and her close allies. The losses on your side are only a little higher than 2,000 soldiers. They are currently making fortifications in the city of Sharona, Satina Castle. And there is news that another army including troops of many noble families inside the Tinley Duchy and the Duke family themselves are being formed right now to attack your army. A general estimation that they will reach battle strength of about 150,000 soldiers before moving. That's all. Oh, Sage Albert wants you to come to the capital and stand before the council today without further delay. Ha! Equals 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 equals. Another hour later, the Bradley Military Institution, the Marshall Institute Robin's residence. Knock knock knock. Robin, are you here? Open. Open, hurry. Galen Bradley's voice sounded from behind the door. Robin left what he was doing and went to open the door. He found Galen, and behind him 5 strong-looking men and women, apparently all saints. Duke Galen, is there something I can help you with? Galen walked straight into the house. Of course, you have to help me. The effect of the talismans was much better than I expected. We actually have a chance to take a large piece of land from Doliver. Oh! Robin nodded and went to complete the last section of the talisman. What do you mean by oh? The Black Sun and Doliver are in full swing now. No. All the kingdoms are watching closely. We are making history. Robin raised his face and spoke in a serious voice. That was the plan from the beginning. Being so excited makes me feel like you didn't trust me from the start, and it hurts. You damn little fun killer. I'm telling you we are eating Doliver. Get excited with me a little. Is there any news of Caesar? Robin chuckled and returned to complete the talisman in hand. Aha! There is some minor news I think you will be interested in. Messenger Marco saw the whole battle, When I gave him the specifications of Caesar, he told me that he saw a person in an eye-catching young man in white armor, and his weapon is a white halberd leading 100 elite soldiers. And he was one of the most prominent figures at the final clash in the last battle. He put his heart in the battle so much that he got himself severely injured twice by being rushed into battles against the enemy knights, but, and I quote, a strange green skin kept getting him back on his feet. No doubt he's Caesar, ha ha ha, looks like he's running amok there. Robin paused for a moment, then completed the drawing. Thanks for the info, Duke Galen. Why are you personally here? How can I help you? I decided to increase my investment in this war. I will send 5 more saints and 100 knights. I came to see if you have new talismans that can help our guys at the front. According to the messenger's description, about 2,000 talismans were consumed during the 2 battles. Robin didn't answer for 2 seconds. Then he lifted the pen and threw the piece of hide into a big pile next to him. This is my production during the last 11 days. Exactly 1656 fire runes. Take them all. 1,000. More than 1,000 in about a week. Galen was shocked to hear this. If they had waited an extra year and collected talismans at this rate, wouldn't they just rain Dolliver with fire? Yeah, this time I focused on the fire talismans because I know it is the most practical in such wars and will be faster to run out, and I can draw it much faster than darkness and vitality talismans. The important thing is, I exhausted my soul a lot during the previous period, and I will need to rest from today onward. Don't expect another patch of these anytime soon. Oh, no worries, that is still very good. Don't worry about the front. Everything will turn out to your expectations and better. Come on, guys. Pack these runes in bags and let's leave quickly. The 5 saints walked around and quietly started packing. Duke Galen, the attack launch date was about 2 days ago. Why did you bring me the news now? Robin stood beside Galen Bradley watching saints cleaning his room for him with big smiles on their faces. Because the news just got to me too. Even with a mid-level saint as a messenger, the news needs about a day to come from the battlefield. Does this mean that the news you just gave me was from a day ago? Robin quickly looked at his side. I think if not a day, then half a day or even 2 days. St. Marco just got here an hour ago from the capital, and just the distance between here and the Imperial Palace is a few hours for a saint. Then how old is this news in your opinion? These long-distance travels can't be trusted, you know. Even a saint needs to rest if he traveled that long. But don't worry. It's impossible that there is anything new going on there. Edward has started making fortifications and the enemies are starting to gather a decent army this time. Most likely the next battle will be in a week or more. A whole day to deliver some information. That doesn't seem very practical. Robin mumbled to himself. Excuse me? Did you say something? Robin shook his head. No, not at all. 10 days have passed since the battle against Viscount Cytina. During them, Duke Galen Bradley went to the capital of the Black Sun and attended in front of the council and Sage Alpert, where they tried to make him speak about the origin of this new war invention. They pressured him too much, but in the end, he told the council directly that he could not give them details of the identity of the person who had supplied him with the talismans, but that the inventor was surely someone who worked for the Kingdom of the Black Sun and was ready to help them against Dolliver's bullying. The council was not very convinced by his words, but in the end, he is a duke and they can't just torture him until the information comes out. So in the end, the matter was temporarily closed and the duke remained in the capital to follow the development of the war with the rest of the power centers of the kingdom. As for the front, the situation is getting more and more tense day by day. After the end of the great battle with the Viscount, tens of thousands were killed or captured as slaves. But Cytina herself and about a quarter of her army fled back into the Dollivarian lands and joined the incoming army, which gave them more headache. The good thing is that they left in a hurry, leaving behind their cities, food, and weapons in excellent condition, which further strengthened Edward and his army. If Cytina and her men knew this, they would have burned everything themselves, but unfortunately, none of them expected that the battle would end as soon as it began. They didn't even have the chance to take anything with them. All their hope is now bound to the third battle of this war. Right after the battle ended, General Edward commanded the capture of the castle of the Cytina family, and he reinforced everything possible during the 10 days. He raised the walls, even more, multiplied the guards, and reorganized the ranks of his army for the next huge battle. During this period also another batch of saints and knights arrived from the Duchy of Bradley, carrying more than 1,500 fire talismans, which excited the general more and raised his confidence to a new level. The weird thing is that it was unknown if the 100 knights and 5 saints that he liked the most, or the weak level 6 talismans. But even though all those reinforcements, the tense, gloomy atmosphere didn't leave him. He knows that this stronghold is not impenetrable. And the report says that there is an army of 170,000 soldiers on its way to the castle right now. It was an army made up of almost all the standing soldiers available in the duchy. And at the speed of their advancement, they would reach the castle in no time. Soldiers from baronies, viscountcies, earldoms, and marquises. Every family inside the Tinley Duchy was forced to send a portion of their army. Even Duke Titus Tinley himself sent a large part of his personal army. This is in addition to Satina herself and her soldiers who were able to retreat. An army like this, and led by a level 30 general. In theory, it's more than enough to drive an army of less than 60,000 from the kingdom's lands and reclaim what they've taken over. And it's even enough to hunt down the remnants of the army even inside the Black Sun and invade part of their lands to regain their face and standing that got destroyed in those 2 short weeks. Swoosh! A strong wind passed by the ear of the person sitting on the main terrace of the castle. He opened his eyes and without looking back asked, "Where are they now, peon?" In response to my general, they are about to cross the woods. The distance between us is now about 5 kilometers and they are still getting close. 5 kilometers, General Edward spoke slowly, then stood and jumped towards the castle wall and looked around, then shouted at the top of his voice, "Start the 3rd formation immediately." All the officers on the fence bowed and started shouting and issuing orders one by one. Quickly the 3rd formation began to take a clear shape in front of everyone. The archers lined the ramparts in a strong and prominent form, wearing shining armors and holding majestic shiny bows. Then 5,000 infantrymen came out of the fortress with heavy, tall shields and lined up outside the fortress one by one until they covered a distance of 300 feet in all directions in front of the main castle gate in the form of a semicircle. After the quick line-up, there were a few minutes of intense calm until finally, a voice came from the forest up ahead. The sound of the war horn brought the eyes of everyone to the direction it came from. The very first sight they caught was a line of floating men and women. They were a total of 20 saints. Then the lines of infantry came out row after row. The scene seemed as if the enemy army had no end. Especially those who were watching from above the castle walls swallowed their saliva without them noticing. For this was the most frightening sight a soldier could possibly see. After the huge number of infantry followed the archers who also numbered in thousands. Then the straw that broke the camel's back. An army of cavalry came out. It was not an exaggeration to call them an army of their own, as they were about 20,000 cavaliers. The whole process of the army coming out of the forest completely took about half an hour. The distance between Dolliver's army and the castle is now 3 kilometers. The attack can start at any moment. But the general of Dolliver's army did not underestimate his enemy and ordered his army to stop at this safe distance. He led his horse and stood on the side of his army and watched the fortress and the garrison formation for a few minutes, and at last, he pointed at the archers on the wall. "Satina, are these arrows what destroyed your army?" Viscount Setna advanced, took a closer look, and nodded. "Yes, noble Edgar. Those hides hanged at the tail of every arrow is what caused the explosions. Without these things, victory would have been mine." This was the general of the Dolliverian army, Edgar Tinley, a peak-level saint, uncle of Duke Titus Tinley. His identity alone shows how important this war was to the duchy and to the whole kingdom. He brought out 5,000 infantrymen with huge shields to prevent our army from getting too close so those crossbows could rain down on us. He still wants to rely on arrows in front of me? I was hoping the enemy general would be a little clever. But alas, this ploy wouldn't pay twice. Here's what will happen. Assign all our 11-20 level knights to the first row of the infantry. When I give orders, I want all our infantry to march forward in a tight formation. while the saints will stand above the army all the way, to repel any attacks of those arrows. We will distribute the saints between 4 teams, each squad having 5 saints. The strongest one among them will not contribute to the formation of energy shields but will remain vigilant to protect his teammates and repel the attacks of the enemy assassins, so that what happened last time will not be repeated. When we enter the range, they will hurl us once or twice with those explosive arrows, but the saints will stop them or change their course easily. This will enable us to reach the enemy armored infantry without any losses. When we arrive, our knights in the first row will quickly remove them from the way and then destroy the gate. After entering, we will focus on killing the archers. Then the only danger will be over and we will slaughter the rest easily. Everything is to get our army inside that castle. If we do what I say, we will surely be victorious. We wouldn't even need our cavalry and archers to win this. Let them stand ready to hunt down those who try to run from our enemy after we defeat them. Do you have any questions or modifications? No, General, what you said was eye-opening. I learned a lot today. I also agree with your grace. Today we will not allow one of them to escape. It's a perfect plan. Nothing can break it. St. Edgar nodded. Good, but remember to tell everyone to collect all the arrows in the quivers of the enemy after killing or capturing them. We should know what this is, and maybe we can make a similar one ourselves. Go and post the instructions. We'll start the attack in 10 minutes. Yes. The 10 minutes that St. Edgar gave his officers to organize the army passed on everyone as if it were 10 hours. The suffocating atmosphere is getting more intense with every minute. On one side, there were less than 60,000 soldiers and they were all shaking, standing in fear of what this massive army in front of them will do. On the other side stand the Dalavarians. They have the absolute numerical advantage but are still afraid of what would happen next. As they all heard from Viscount Saitina's soldiers about the explosive arrows that demolished 2 armies in one day. Meanwhile, Edgar kept his eyes on his enemies, trying to analyze the situation further. After a few minutes had passed, his eyes were fixed on the enemy's archers standing on the front walls with strong-looking, shining armors covering their whole bodies. Then he finally spoke. Why are the archers so exposed? Every one of them can be seen from head to toe easily. Would it not have been better if he had hidden them behind something? Saitina, did they look like that when you fought them? No, sir, they were hidden behind the army at first, and when they advanced they were protected by saints, and they surely didn't dress like that. A high-ranking saint by his side intervened. Maybe the enemy general is trying to use them to raise the morale of his army? I think it's possible too. Edgar nodded after a few seconds of thought. General, the preparations are complete. Even after hearing the affirmation, St. Edgar still fixed his gaze on the archers. But he finally spoke in a calm voice. Hit the war drums! Dum dum dum. 8 high-ranking cultivators started beating 4 giant drums at the rear of the army. The ground began to shake with that shout. Row after row started to move, not with the normal military march, but running. The 3 kilometers quickly became 2.5 kilometers. The sight of the huge body of soldiers that were originally frightening became terrifying. The soldiers of the Bradleys and Burtons, who had gained tremendous momentum after successive victories and had an astonishing amount of respect for their general, began to have doubts about the outcome of today's battle. 2 kilometers. Edward Bradley raised his hand up, evidently preparing to take it down at any time. The crossbows raised their bows and pulled the arrows back, and remained at the ready position. St. Edgar, who was still at the side of the army, noticed this and cried out, "Let the teams of saints take their positions. All soldiers, raise your shields over your heads and hurry forward." The saint's voice entered the ears of every single soldier, and all of them immediately followed his orders. Although the saints would be more than enough to block the arrows, Edgar didn't want to leave anything to chance. Not a single individual remained who did not raise his shield up and affix it to the shields of the soldiers next to him, so as not to leave any gaps through which the arrows pass. The army was seeming from above like a big shield crawling on the ground. This will be the second line of defense. Even if an arrow passed by, it won't make any significant damage. Prevention is better than regret. 1.5 kilometers. Shot. Edward Bradley lowered the arm he was holding up high. Here it comes, beware. The shouts of Deliver's officers began to get louder. But what they were waiting for did not come. The Black Sun archers were still raising their bows in the ready position. What is Hadash? St. Edgar didn't even finish his words when, boom, the explosions followed in succession, causing deaths and massive injuries in random places, from the first few rows in the army to the last individual in the last row. Edgar quickly looked back at the walls. Perhaps something had happened he had missed. But the archers were still on alert. Not a single arrow had been launched. At that moment, a terrifying thought came to his mind. He got off his horse and kneeled, lowering his head until his ear touched the ground, and started to watch the feet of the soldiers. Boom, boom, boom. His worst nightmares turned into reality. The explosions were coming from under their feet. So far, more than 150 explosions have been heard, and the explosions are still continuing one after the other. And because there is a cover of solid strong shields above the heads of all the soldiers, the power of the explosions remained confined under the cover of armor and the fire stretched horizontally. Its power and efficiency actually doubled. Stop! Put down your shields and stand on them. You idiots! The cavalry had my orders. Go quickly to the far right. Get away from this explosion zone. St. Edgar shouted with all his might. The military run stopped completely, and they immediately began to carry out the general's orders. In a matter of seconds, the infantry troops stepped on their strong shields. There were a few more explosions, but they only exploded the person standing above them, and they were not as wide as before. General Edgar's tactics successfully stopped the losses. But his smile did not last long. General Edward over the castle raised his right hand in a fist gesture, and the explosions coming from under the ground stopped. That's bad. He was hoping that he could stay like that until all the traps are destroyed, but if he could activate and stop the attacks whenever he wanted, how would he approach him? More than a minute passed since the Dalivarian army remained firmly in place, and St. Edgar could not think of anything that would enable him to complete his path to the castle. And not even a way to go back. Driven by despair, he looked at General Edward and shouted, "What kind of a general are you? For how long you will remain in hiding? You made your point. Now if you are a man, come out and fight him." St. Edward laughed loudly. "Ha, if you are a man, breach my defenses and fight me here." St. Edgar could not say anything else. This was war and not child's play. He quickly regained his clear thought and began to analyze the situation. Whether he tries to advance or go back, the soldiers will have to carry their shields. But the moment their feet touch the ground, the explosions will definitely start again. As Edgar was still trying to think of a solution, a voice came into his ear. Ha, all right. You are a great general indeed. You have gained my pity. I won't leave you hanging like this. What do you think of a game? It was General Edward's voice. But it sounded like the devil's voice to all the soldiers standing on their shields. General Edward raised his left arm and lowered it, and the arrow shot out from 400 archers at once. "Humph! Saints, you know what to do!" Edgar yelled loudly. Edward Bradley was a whole 2 levels weaker than him and with a much lesser army than his own, and he is the one who talks with infinite arrogance. That's simply humiliation. At least what happens now will teach him to shut his mouth. 20 saints came in 4 squads to the front of the army. 4 of each squad were busy making a wall of pure energy, and the additional saint in every squad stood to protect them from anything that might disturb them. At this moment, General Edward put 2 fingers in his mouth and whistled hard. All the saints of Daliver raised their defenses and looked toward the castle to see what is coming. But none of them managed to sense anything, until, boom, they were hit hard by close-range fire attacks from above. The energy shields they prepared to stop the arrows were successively broken like glass. Everyone looked up and didn't see anything at first, but they felt that there were 15 saints in this direction, and they were only 30 meters away. According to the information that Saitina gave to St. Edgar and his assistants, these are all the saints with the army of enemies. They all came out at once. Among the 20 saints of Daliver, some were trying to attack their new opponents, some were trying to understand why their eyes could not see them but could feel them, and some were lightly injured by the sudden attack. But there is one thing they all miss. A rain of arrows passed by their ears and began to descend on the vast ocean of soldiers below them. The 400 arrows landed perfectly and hit 400 defenseless soldiers in random locations and dead on the spot, but everyone knew it wouldn't end just like that. General Edgar looked at those arrows with wide eyes. "Oh, my arm. Help!" Viscount Saitina was still standing next to General Edgar. Her mouth opened, shocked, as she saw this familiar scene. An army is being slain before the battle officially begins. No, at least her soldiers in the previous battle defended themselves a little with their shields as they raised them against the arrows coming down on their heads, or used them to protect themselves from the near explosions. This certainly did not happen this time. The first wave of explosions destroyed the soldiers from under their feet without a barrier between the explosion and their bodies. And the second wave, the explosions came down upon them from the sky while their shields were still under their feet. Both times the army swallowed the full force of the explosions thoroughly. If they raised their shields, they will get destroyed by the underground explosions. If they stood on the shields, they will get destroyed by the arrows. Even the choice to stay where they are was taken away from them. Only now did everyone understand what General Edward meant when he talked about a game. This was really cruel. The straw that broke the camel's back was when they saw the enemy's archers preparing for the next shot. General Edgar couldn't stand the pressure any longer. He gave a loud yell and shouted, "Ah! Raise your shields and run toward that castle. Don't stop no matter what." They had to run over explosive traps and under a rain of explosive arrows. With this shout, every officer and sub-general sighed. They all knew that the waterproof plan had completely collapsed. But this was indeed the best solution. If he tried to find a way to retreat slowly until he came out of the range of the underground explosions, he would still be exposed to rains of arrows and the losses would be horrific. But the number of deaths wouldn't be the worst outcome in this situation, but the decisive blow to the army's morale. If a huge army like this retreats after it takes a few steps, how can he raise their morale to attack again? What would the world say when they hear that a 170,000 army fled from a battle against an army of less than 60,000? So the turning back option is absolutely unacceptable. And of course, they would still get destroyed if he tried to slowly maintain the formations and march in military order. All that remains is to rush and try to win through human sacrifice, using the numerical advantage to the fullest. The soldiers raised their shields and started running at full speed towards the castle randomly. They abandoned their rows and chain of command. They just started running for their lives. And as soon as they started running, the explosions from under their feet returned to work as well. The difference is that the explosions were much more intense than the first round. There were at least 10 explosions at a time in random places of the army in any given second. The army could not advance another 100 meters before the formations turned into what looked like a herd of frightened cows. Some of them even started running sideways so that they can stay away from the center and reduce the chance they get exploded to pieces, but this act causes entire rows to collide and fall. While the army was still floundering due to the explosions coming from under their feet, the second wave of arrows descended from the sky, making matters worse. "Arg! General! Save us!" St. Edgar's features turned very ugly. Tens of thousands of victims fell from his army so far, including dead and severely injured, and most of these injuries were not due to explosions, but were due to the stampede. Whether it is the soldiers who are moving sideways, or because of the flying body parts by explosions, or the high speed running in the midst of all of this caused a lot of trips and falls, and whoever falls while an army is running towards him will not rise from his fall ever again. However, St. Edgar didn't try to find a solution for this because there isn't any. He continued shouting, "Go ahead! There's only so little left. When we reach that wall, it will all be over. Victory will be our side." Although he had lost a few tens of thousands so far, he still had far more soldiers than his opponent. Only if he gets to that damn wall. He looked at his side. Maybe he could ask for help from his saints, but as soon he did, he shook his head and forgot about it. After the Black Sun Saints' attack, a huge fight broke between the two parties. And this battle between the saints has already become a deadlock. Although it is a battle of 20 against 15, the Saints of Dolivar have not yet been able to deter their opponents. Cooperative big battles of this caliber cannot be decided by individual strength like a one-against-one battle, but rather tend to be more random. A saint can attack and defend against 4 or 5 at the same time. It also depends on coordination and teamwork more, so even if the side of the Saints of Dalavar wins individually, they won't win anytime soon. Dalavar's huge army followed orders and continued its run. The explosions from under their feet and the rain of fire above their heads did not stop them. 1 kilometer before reaching the enemy heavy infantry in front of the castle. The explosions from under their feet are getting more and more intense the closer they get. Till this point, the sound of 1,500 underground explosions was heard and the number is still increasing. 700 meters before reaching the enemy infantry in front of the castle. During the short distance 300 meters, another 1,500 explosions were heard. The explosions became so intense that the army basically stopped. No one was able to take another step forward without dying horrific death by exploding and his body turns into flying pieces. Rain of blood and body parts overwhelmed those who have escaped the near-death and planted more fear within them. 600 meters before reaching the enemy infantry in front of the castle. Because the officers and knights were pushing them, and because they were already so close, the army somehow managed to advance an additional 100 meters. In just this 100 meters, the explosions coming from underground were heard 1,000 times more and rain of arrows descended upon them twice. If all these explosions happen now, then what about the rest of the distance? There will still be any of us left when we reach that wall. The question was in the mind of every Dalavarian infinitary. The motive collapsed. The will to defend the kingdom was overwhelmed by fear. The reason behind their presence here disappeared. That is it, I quit. It was not known who said it, but soon the army began to disintegrate. Some started to run towards the side, and some of them took it to another level by just turning around and going straight back towards the rear. What helped this more is that the underground explosions and the arrows did not target those who tried to escape. What are you doing? We are so close. When we arrive, we will be victorious. Traitors, go back to your positions. He who disobeys orders will be beheaded. The officers tried to regroup their battalions, but to no avail. The fear of death in this horrible form overshadowed their thoughts of anything else. Saint Edgar was still standing at the back trying to comprehend what was going on. More than half of the army had turned around and had already deserted the battle completely. Most of the rest were standing still undecided to continue or turn back. They were too afraid to make a decision. Just a few thousands around the knights were still trying to advance step by step. No matter how he thought, he couldn't find a single way to reorganize his scattered army and push them forward again. Cavalry, Saint Edgar muttered. What did you say, Your Grace? His assistant did not know what the general meant by his words. Cavalry, they were previously sent to the far right so that the ground explosions would not affect them. Gather them and send them all to strike the enemy's heavy infantry from the side and open the gate. This is the only solution to restore hope to the army and direct it towards the castle again. The assistant was surprised by what he heard and quickly responded, But this will make the cavalry exposed to the enemy's archers with explosive arrows and even ordinary archers. Even if the mission is completed successfully, we will lose most of the 20,000 cavalries. It's better than losing the war. Do it now, Saint Edgar cried. Yes. I have a son who needs his father. That's enough for me. Let the punishments go to hell. Cut off my head then. That's better than my whole body tears apart then get stepped upon. Yes, I prefer committing suicide over this. I'm out. Similar cries rose among the few thousand remaining in Dalavar's army, and they also began to withdraw in droves. Every word said was like knives cutting through the hearts of Dalavar's knights and officers. But it was like the singing of birds for a middle-aged man standing on top of the castle wall and watching every little detail with a big smile. Dalavar's army nightmares keep piling up. Thousands were killed and tens of thousands others lost a limb or two. In fact, their losses could still be ignored due to the huge numerical difference. Even if they lost 70,000, their numbers are still near twice that of the Black Suns. General Edward knew this very well, so he harnessed all his talismans for this battle to kill them morally before killing them physically, and it actually worked. The showers of the explosive arrows from above and the detonation of the talismans planted under the light sand created unparalleled terror for those citizens who had never seen or heard of such a situation before. The explosions seemed as if they would never end. But they didn't know that it actually almost ran out. If Dolliver's army advanced another 100 meters, victory would have been theirs. While General Edward was enjoying the scene in front of him, he felt a slight wind rapidly approaching and a voice came from behind him. "General, there is a whole legion of cavalry approaching from the left." "Hmm?" The general turned around and did not find anything. He floated up a little and tried to focus and finally found a very distant cloud of dust approaching that direction. After looking closely, he found that they were cavalry. A lot of them. They are about 20,000. TCH, that person is not giving up. He wants to sacrifice 20,000 cavalries just to destroy our heavy infantry in front of the gate and open the gate and then redirect his infantry towards us again. That guy is mentally ill. By the way, good job, peon. I didn't make a mistake by making you responsible for the scouting. Sir Robin was right to recommend you in this department. The assistant general came forward and bowed a little. "Give me your orders, General Edward." Saint Edward paused for a moment, then asked, "How many rounds of talismanic arrows are left with the archers?" "There are only 200 fire talismans, General." Saint Edward plunged into thinking again. 200 arrows for 20,000 cavalries. It is known that the cavalry are the elite of any army, usually made up of soldiers in levels between 6-10, so arrows will not affect them as they affect the infantry. In some sense, they can even be ignored. Put all archers, whether talismans or ordinary, in a launch position at the left side, and send my orders for all our cavalries to come out from the back gate of the castle, and send them to attack the enemy's cavalry from behind while they engage our infantry in front of the wall. "Yes, sir." The general's assistant bowed and left to execute the new orders. Saint Edward turned again to look at the general of the enemy army. A cruel smile appeared on his face as he spoke calmly. "Want to play? I'll play with you." Meanwhile, the kingdom of the Black Sun Bradley Military Institution. Robin is sitting in a meditating position in his room. He has not made a single talisman since the last batch was delivered 10 days ago. As in the past 2 months, he exhausted his soul a lot in making talismans in huge quantities without rest. So he decided to take a long rest period so that his soul would not be permanently harmed due to exhaustion. Zara also did the same and contented herself with meditation and training alone in the neighboring house. But Robin didn't just sit back during this period. His cultivation that was at the top of the 8th level broke through to the 9th right after the first 3 days of training, and then he started trying to explore more possibilities in the talisman's world. But the night is destined not to pass as an ordinary night. Robin slowly opened his eyes and asked, "Who's there?" Deadly silence is still in the air. No one answered the question. Robin turned his gaze to a certain direction and asked again, "How long are you going to play with me?" "Oh, you really can detect my existence." Someone appeared from the shades and moved a few steps closer to Robin. "It seems my master wasn't overestimating you when he sent me. A level 14 assassin. I'm really flattered." Robin chuckled with a low voice as if this asterisk level 14 assassin asterisk didn't come for him. But his words affected the masked assassin who furrowed his eyebrows tightly. Robin wasn't supposed to know his level. Robin then rose from his meditating position and asked, "How did you get into Bradley Military? How did you get into my residence? Did Galen take my protection off? Who sent you to kill me? You ask too much for a dead person. I will only tell you one thing. Blame your little brother for your death." The masked assassin didn't add another word, thrusting his dagger straight into Robin's neck. At that moment Robin's eyes turned into a vortex of blackness and soon darkness spread around him at a lightning speed. The technique, Scope of Darkness, activated immediately and enveloped the assassin inside. All the senses of the masked assassin were sealed. Whether it is the sense of seeing, hearing, or smelling, he was left with nothing but his spiritual sense, which also became confused. He paused for a moment at where he stood trying to regain his senses but failed. Fear struck his heart for the first time. But he quickly gathered himself. "I must finish the task first, then look into what happened." His confused spiritual sense told him that Robin was still in his original position, so he did not change his attack and continued to stab directly towards his neck. The level difference between the two made Robin an easy target that was impossible to avoid even if his enemy did not see him. The dagger quickly reached Robin's neck, but it didn't pierce anything. The dagger found only air to cut through. The assassin used his spiritual sense to try to find Robin's location, but to no avail, as if the earth had split open and swallowed him. He kept swinging the dagger around him in fright, but it was useless. How would these random attacks reach Robin if even his spiritual sense was useless in searching for him? The mission has failed. This was the only thought in his mind at this moment. He went from overconfidence to doubt to desperation in a matter of a minute, so he used his spiritual sense to find the window and turned towards it to try to get out of the room. But at that moment, his spiritual sense finally caught Robin, who suddenly appeared behind him, or to be more exact, just one step away from him. As soon as Robin appeared, he waved something towards him which he couldn't dodge from such a close distance. The assassin didn't know what happened. He just knew that whatever Robin waved at him just now had landed on his body and it caused him a terrible pain. But after the initial scream, he ignored his pain for a moment and sent a punch at Robin's head, who was less than a foot distance away from him. Robin tried to dodge, but the blow was so fast and the 5-level difference made it extremely hard to flee. That's not to mention that there was barely any distance to run to. He tried to activate a wind heavenly law technique to try to evade it. He managed to gain enough speed to move a few inches to the left, but he still didn't quite succeed in escaping the danger. The blow landed cleanly on his right shoulder and sent him flying backward and crashing into the wall behind him with a BAA. The assassin tried to turn and jump out of the window again, but before he realized what was happening around him, he found himself falling to the ground on his face and started screaming in great pain. When he passed his hand to the place where he is feeling the pain, he could not find his right leg in place. It was missing from the knee down. Everything happened so fast that he didn't realize that he was standing on one leg all along. A full minute had passed since the exchange of blows. The assassin was still on the floor holding his knee and screaming in agony. He still can't see, hear, or smell anything. Even after Robin received that attack, the scope of darkness was still active, throwing the assassin in complete darkness as if he was cut off from the world. The pain had completely shrouded even his spiritual sense, which was already muddled. He was now 100% under the influence of the dark realm. Even if he wanted to escape, he wouldn't know the right way to go. As for Robin, he was still lying on the ground after the direct punch that hit him. Finally, after another 20 seconds, Robin was able to sit up, his arm dropping in a weird position as if he was about to fall, blood dripping from his head and mouth like flowing springs. A direct hit from an opponent 5 levels higher was never an insignificant thing. Plus, he still had to pump extra energy every second to keep the darkness scope activated. After a few seconds more, Robin spat out the blood in his mouth and managed to get himself to stand up. Then with difficulty he took a few steps towards the door of the room. And with a KAA, he hit his shoulder at the door with all what was left of his strengths. He did this 2 more times until it was restored to its proper position after it has been dislocated. Ha! 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 For Robin, the pain was unbearable, as if 1,000 needles had pierced his shoulder at the same moment. He took a few more seconds to recover his peace of mind after the sharp pain he felt, then went to a nearby basket inside his room. The basket contained a few talismans of all kinds. Robin left them to himself in case of a crisis or if he needed to explain their use to someone else. He extended his hand to the basket and brought out a vitality talisman from the basket and quickly placed it on his shoulder and activated it. The torn tissues in his body quickly began to reattach, and his cracked skull stopped bleeding. Then he took out the second vitality talisman, then the third. Although they did not fully recover him, his condition has greatly improved from what it was a minute ago. Finally, he turned his gaze toward the assassin who was still in great pain on the ground. I was sitting in peace taking care of my affairs. You should have come to disturb me, HH? Although he knew that the assassin could not hear him, he was trying to vent. Robin was extremely angry. With a wave of his hand, Robin sent a little white flame towards the assassin's body. The assassin did not know what was going on around him, but he felt terrible pain like he had never imagined in his life. "Ah, have mercy on me. Please. Kill me!" Even though the assassin couldn't even hear himself, he kept screaming and begging in the most horrifying way. But Robin kept a deaf ear. He left the assassin writhing and screaming in pain for a whole minute. He waited until the assassin's clothes evaporated. His skin roasted, and his flesh turned to the color of coal. Then, with a wave of his hand, he nullified the darkness scope around the assassin. Finally, the light began to return to the assassin's eye, the eye which no longer had eyelids on it. Immediately, the assassin saw the white fire eating his body. After seeing his condition, he knew he is already a dead man, and his screaming increased even more and started crying. But his tears were evaporating as soon as they gathered. "Arjich, why are you doing this to me? Just kill me. Please, kill me. Kill me. Who sent you to kill me?" Robin asked with a hard voice devoid of any emotions. He wouldn't feel pity towards someone who wants to kill him. The assassin replied directly, "Marquis Rufus." Robin furrowed his eyebrow. Rufus. Aha! The father of that boy who Caesar shoved the halberd up his butt? TCH, that guy doesn't give up, ha? Tell me, how did you get in here? "I work in the institution. I was observing your house daily. After the Duke and most of his army left the city, a gap occurred in the protection assigned for you. I entered your dwelling as soon as the person who had been watching you for 4 days has left. I only have 10 minutes to kill him and escape before the next person in charge of watching him for the next 4 days arrives, as I arranged for his favorite girls to keep him here today. Please, kill me. I've told him everything. Please. Go your way then." Robin grabbed the vegetable cleaver he had used to cut his leg earlier, and with a quick slash, he separated his neck from his body. Then went to sit on a chair in his room with his head in both hands. Although the fight was short, it was against someone who was 5 levels above him. This addition to the frequent use of the vitality talismans, Robin already drained every single bit of energy in his body. If he fight any random cat now, he will most likely lose. But that was the last thing on his mind. He took time to relive the events of the short fighting that had just time. In order for Robin to write the techniques of cultivating the heavenly laws, he naturally had to understand them first, so naturally, he can implement everything he has studied. Of course, the implementation is limited because he has not yet built his pillars. For example, when Theo establishes his pillars with the perfect darkness law, will use the law much better than Robin. Robin from the beginning was not only strengthening the 3 boys but himself as well. This was the first time he applied something of what he had learned in real combat, and also, it was the first time he killed a human being with his own hands. Thoughts raced into his head for about 8 minutes. Then, at last, he got up and went to the window and shouted, "The one who's supposed to be protecting me, get your ass here!" A person quickly appeared under the window. He was a level 18 knight. The knight raised his head and looked at Robin's head emerging from the window. "Is there something I can do for Mr. Robin?" The knight replied with a fake smile, obviously not liking the way Robin called him. Robin looked down with a sneer and murmured, "That's you then? Come on in. I want you for some words inside." Even the fake smile disappeared from the knight's face. Had it not been for Duke Bradley's instructions to treat this boy with respect, he would have gone and slapped his head now. But in the end, he did what you were asked and jumped in through the window, and he was immediately shocked. The first thing he noticed upon entering was the strange smell of barbecue, and when he followed the trail of the smell, he looked down and found a roast, headless corpse under his feet. Wah dash! The knight panicked and took 2 steps to the side, quickly regained his senses and began to look at the room and found it filled with traces of a great battle, and its wall was broken. Even Robin himself, when he checked him again, he found that he was full of injuries and his clothes were cut in several areas. Assassination attempt. When the thought crossed his head, at last, the knight quickly knelt and shouted, "Please forgive me. My negligence led to what happened. I'll work like a donkey for you if you want. Just please don't inform the Duke or he will order the killing of me and my family. If one had to be punished then, it is the other knight who left his guard before you arrived. You two are useless idiots. You don't even know what your negligence would have done to humanity. Whatever. Just get up and get rid of this corpse for me, and send someone to clean the room and rebuild it. The knight nodded quickly. Yes, sir. I'll do everything myself right now. Robin let out one last grunt, then left the knight to do his work and went down the stairs, but he paused briefly at the top and said mockingly, "Next time choose a wiser girl, you fool," before continuing on his way. The knight kept his head lowered until Robin got out of the house towards house 208. He exhaled and then went to examine the corpse again, and freaked out. This aura? A knight of level 14? What is going on here?